If you are listening to this, it is probably late. The day has been long. Your body is tired, but your mind is still awake. Thoughts may still be moving like birds that refuse to land. Plans, regrets, small worries that seemed quiet a few hours ago but grow louder in the dark. Tonight, you do not need to fight them. You do not need to win against your own mind. Tonight, we will do something softer. We will walk slowly into a different way of seeing, a way the old Zen teachers sometimes called the mind of a beginner, a mind that is open, curious, light, a mind that is not already full. This journey will move through many stories. Each story will offer a small window into this beginner's mind. The stories come from the spirit of Zen, from Buddhist teachings, and from simple human lives. You do not have to remember them. You do not have to understand every part. Let them pass through you like a gentle breeze through an open room. If you fall asleep while listening, that is perfect. That means your body has heard the permission to rest. To begin, let us take one slow breath together. Breathe in through your nose. Feel the air touch the back of your throat. Hold it for just a moment. Then let it go smoothly through your nose or mouth. As the breath leaves, imagine that it carries a thin layer of the day with it. One more time. In. Pause. Out. Your shoulders do not have to prove anything now. Let them drop. Let your jaw soften. Let your tongue rest loosely in your mouth. Your hands can relax. They have done enough. In Zen stories, there is an image that appears again and again. It is the image of a cup. A simple cup. Not fancy. Not famous. Just something that holds tea. The teaching says that a full cup cannot receive more tea. That part is easy to understand. Yet it is much harder to see how often we walk through our own life with a full cup in our mind. Full of opinions, full of worries, full of what we think we already know. There was once a teacher, a quiet man who lived in a small temple on the edge of a town. People came to him with many questions. One evening, a famous scholar arrived. The scholar was respected far and wide for his knowledge of philosophy and religion. He had read many texts. He had given many talks. His students admired him. His shelves were heavy with books. His head was heavy with ideas. But despite all this, he felt restless. He had heard that the old teacher in the small temple understood something called awakening. He wanted to add that to his knowledge too. When he entered the temple, he bowed, but his mind was already busy. As soon as he sat down, he began to speak. He spoke about the books he had read, the theories he had studied, the debates he had won. He quoted poems. He compared different schools of thought. He shared his own ideas about what awakening must be. The old teacher listened quietly. He did not interrupt. He did not argue. His eyes were soft. He simply let the river of words flow. After a while, the teacher asked, "Would you like some tea?" The scholar agreed. The teacher brought a simple pot and 2 cups. He placed a cup before the scholar and began to pour. The tea rose. It reached the rim. Yet the teacher did not stop. Tea spilled over the edge, onto the small tray, then onto the floor. The scholar jumped. "Stop!" he cried. "The cup is full. It cannot hold any more." The teacher set down the pot. His voice was calm. "Yes," he said, "you are like this cup, so full that nothing new can enter. How can I share anything with you while you are overflowing with your own ideas?" The room grew quiet. The scholar's face burned. At first he felt insulted. He was used to being the one who knew, the one who spoke. But above the sting, another feeling began to rise. A strange little space. A sense that perhaps the teacher was right. His mind was very full of concepts about truth. Yet he did not feel the peace those truths were supposed to bring. He felt heavy and tired. He looked at the small puddle of tea spreading on the floor. For the first time in many years, he did not know what to say. The teacher poured a new cup. This time he filled it only halfway, then handed it to the scholar. "Try again," he said gently. "Not with your knowledge, with your not knowing. Come as if you do not already understand. Come as if this were the first day of your life." The scholar held the warm cup in both hands. The steam rose, soft and fragrant. He realized how rarely he had allowed himself to simply not know. His whole life had become a performance of knowing. He had built walls from his ideas. Strong walls, beautiful walls, walls that had brought him praise, but also walls that kept out quiet, simple truths. He took a sip of tea. It was not special, not rare. Yet in that moment it tasted different. He was not thinking about what kind of tea it was or how it compared to other tea he had drunk. He was just tasting. For a breath, his mind paused. There, in that pause, the teacher saw what he had been waiting for. A small opening, a place where a new seed could fall. "This is beginner's mind," the teacher said softly. "Not the mind that is empty because it is lazy or uncaring. The mind that is empty because it is willing to see again, willing to be surprised, willing to admit that life is larger than our theories about it." The scholar looked up. "Then how do I empty the cup?" he asked. "Do I throw away everything I have learned?" The teacher smiled. "No," he said. "You do not need to burn your books. You do not need to pretend to be ignorant. You only need to hold your knowledge more lightly, like this cup that is not filled to the brim. Leave some space. When you listen, listen as if you might be wrong. When you look, look as if you have never seen this scene before. When you breathe, breathe as if this breath is the first and last you will ever have. That is enough." The scholar stayed at the temple for a time. He still read. He still thought. But he began to practice something new. When someone spoke to him, he tried to pause before answering. He noticed how quickly his mind wanted to jump in, to explain, to correct. Instead, he would silently say, "Empty cup," and let himself truly hear the other person, as if their words were fresh rain falling into open hands. At night, when sleep would not come, he used the same image. He would lie in bed feeling the weight of his thoughts. Then he imagined placing a small cup on a low table beside his heart. Into that cup he poured his concerns one by one, not with drama, not with hatred, just with honesty. His pride, his fears, his clever ideas, his need to be right. He pictured them all sliding out of him like tea into that waiting cup, not gone forever, just set down for a while. With each thought he placed there, his body relaxed a little more. His breathing slowed. The space inside him grew wider, quieter. Slowly he would drift into sleep. You can do something similar now. Imagine there is a cup beside you. It might be on a table. It might rest on your chest. It might float in the air at the center of the room. It is large enough to hold what you give it. Think of one worry that has been circling in your mind, just one. See it as a small stream of tea. Pour it into the cup. You are not denying it. You are not solving it. You are simply saying, "You can rest here for tonight. I do not need to hold you while I try to sleep." Take a breath. Feel if your body softens even a little. When the next thought comes, you can do the same. The cup has space. You have permission to set things down. As you practice this, your mind begins to learn a new rhythm. It starts to understand that it does not have to cling to every idea, every fear, every plan all the time. There can be moments of not knowing, not holding, not doing. In those moments, sleep finds an open door. In our next part, we will follow another person who learns to see the familiar world with new eyes, discovering that beginner's mind is not only about what we think, but also about how we look at the simple things we meet every day. From the quiet temple where the scholar began to empty his cup, our journey moves gently outward into the simple world of wood, rain, and everyday work. Beginner's mind is not only something that happens in a meditation hall. It also appears in the most ordinary places, often when we are tired of the very tasks that keep our lives going. Somewhere in a small village not far from the sea, there lived a carpenter named Aiko. She had inherited her father's workshop. The place smelled of sawdust and oil. Sunlight came in through a high window and painted long, pale rectangles on the floor. For many years, Aiko loved her work. As a child, she had watched her father run his hand along a piece of wood, close his eyes and say, "Listen, it will tell you what it wants to become." She had thought he was joking. Wood cannot speak. But as she grew older and learned to cut and plane and sand, she began to understand. Each board had its own grain, its own knots, its own weight. A table made from one tree would feel different from a table made from another, even if they looked almost the same. In the early years, Aiko approached each project with excitement. A new bench, a door, a cradle. She would stand before the rough planks and feel a kind of affection, as if she were greeting a new friend. But as time went on and orders grew, something in her began to change. The work became more routine. People wanted the same designs again and again, chairs that matched chairs she had made last year, doors that fit measurements she knew by heart. Her hands moved automatically. Her mind drifted elsewhere. She no longer listened for what the wood might want. She simply told it what to be. One afternoon, Aiko stood in the workshop staring at a stack of boards. She felt strangely numb. A customer had ordered a set of shelves, nothing special. She knew exactly how to make them, but when she reached for her tools, her arm felt heavy as if it belonged to someone else. "What is wrong with me?" she muttered. "I used to love this. Now it is all the same. Ugh." Just then the bell over the workshop door rang. Aiko turned. An old man stood in the doorway wearing simple clothes and carrying a small bundle. His eyes were bright, but his posture was slightly bent, like a tree that had grown in strong wind. "Excuse me," he said. "Do you repair old things?" "Sometimes," Aiko replied. What do you have?" The old man unwrapped his bundle. Inside was a small wooden box, worn smooth by many years of handling. Its lid was cracked. One corner had broken off. "This was my wife's," he said softly. "She kept her sewing things inside. She has been gone for some time, but I still touch this box every morning. Lately it has become fragile. I would like it to last a little longer. Can you help?" Aiko took the box in her hands. At first she saw only its flaws, the crack, the missing piece, the stains on the inside where threads and needles had rubbed against the grain. She started to say, it would be easier to buy a new one, but when she looked up, she saw the way the old man's fingers rested on the edge of the wood. Not gripping, just touching, as if the box were a hand he did not want to let go of. Something in her chest softened. "I will try," she said. She watched as he left, walking slowly down the road, his hands now empty. When she turned back to the box, she felt a strange difference inside herself. This was still wood, but not like the boards on the table. This wood carried a story. It had sat in someone's lap. It had heard the quiet sounds of thread pulling through cloth. It had been opened and closed thousands of times by hands that were no longer here. Aiko sat down. She ran her fingers along the crack in the lid very gently, the way her father had once traced the grain of a new board. For the first time in a long while, she was not thinking about measurements or patterns. She was simply noticing. The way the crack bent slightly, following a line in the grain. The way the broken corner showed the lighter color of the inner wood beneath the darker, aged surface. The slight dip where a thumb had rubbed the same spot for years. As she paid attention, the box seemed to wake up under her touch. It had always been this way, of course, but Aiko's eyes were new. "Old friend," she whispered to it, surprising herself. "What do you need?" The question did not bring actual words in reply, but it did bring ideas. Not the usual automatic ones. She decided not to sand away the marks of use. Instead, she cleaned the surface gently, respecting the small dents and stains. She strengthened the crack from the inside where it could not be seen, so the lid would hold together without losing its history. For the missing corner, she found a piece of wood that matched not in perfection, but in feeling. It was not identical in color, but when she held it against the box, something about the combination felt right, like two voices that could sing together. As she worked, time moved differently. Her back still ached. Her hands still grew tired. But the hours did not feel dull. They felt full. When she finally finished and ran her hand over the lid, she felt a quiet joy. Not the excitement of creating something brand new, but the satisfaction of having really met this one small object. She had not forced it into a pattern. She had responded to what it already was. When the old man returned, he held the box as if it were a bird, his eyes filled with tears. "It is still itself," he said, "and yet it is stronger." Aiko bowed slightly. "It taught me how to do that," she replied. After he left, she stood alone in the workshop. The stack of boards for the shelves still waited. They looked the same as before. Simple, ordinary. But Aiko felt different. She walked over and placed a hand on the top board. It was smooth, pale, with a knot near one edge. She had seen 1,000 boards like this. Yet she tried, as an experiment, to look at it as if she had never seen wood before, as if this were the first time in her life that a tree had offered part of itself to become something new. The knot became not a flaw to hide, but a small swirl of history, a sign of where a branch had once tried to grow. The grain looked like lines of a map, leading to places she did not know. The faint smell rising from it was the ghost of rain, soil, and sunlight combined. She realized, with a small shock, that the boredom she had been feeling did not really belong to the wood. It belonged to her way of seeing. She had stopped meeting each board as a living piece of the world and started treating them as dead objects in a row. It was her own mind that had become repetitive, not reality. That afternoon, as she cut and fitted the shelves, Aiko practiced this new way of looking. Each time her attention drifted into familiar impatience, she whispered to herself, "First time. First time seeing this edge. First time feeling this weight. First time hearing this particular sound as the saw moved through this particular grain." The work did not suddenly become magic, but it did become more alive. She noticed details she had ignored for years. She adjusted small things she would once have overlooked. The shelves she delivered to the customer looked simple, yet carried a quiet harmony that they could not quite name. They only knew they felt good to touch. Beginner's mind had entered the workshop, not as a grand idea, but as a shift in attention. You can try a small version of this in your own space now, even as you lie here. Without moving much, let your eyes rest on one familiar object in the room. If there is enough light, it might be a curtain, a lamp, a corner of the ceiling. If your eyes are closed, you can imagine your pillow, your blanket, the shape of your own hand. For a moment, pretend you have never seen this thing before, as if you are a visitor from another world meeting it for the first time. Notice its shape, its texture, the way it touches light or darkness, the way it feels against your skin. You do not need to describe it in words. Just meet it, freshly. See if even for a few seconds the room feels a little less stale, a little more alive. This is the same life you were in a moment ago. The only thing that changed is how you are looking. As you let your attention soften again, feel how this way of seeing can also apply to your own breath. You have taken so many breaths that you no longer count them. But this one right now has never happened before. The air entering your nose in this instant has never entered you in exactly this way, after exactly this day, with exactly this mix of thoughts and feelings and tired muscles. Let this breath be your first breath for tonight. Let the next be your second. Nothing more complicated than that. In the next part of our journey, we will explore another side of beginner's mind, the courage to say, "I don't know," and how that simple honesty can open doors that a full, certain mind keeps closed. From Aiko's workshop, where a single wooden box taught her to see again, our path now turns toward a different kind of beginner's mind. Not the freshness of the eyes, but the softness of the heart when it dares to say three simple words. I don't know. Many people fear these words. They sound weak, they sound unprepared, they sound like failure. Yet in Zen, I don't know can be a doorway into real wisdom, the way an open valley can receive the wind while a stone wall cannot. There was once a man named Koji. Everyone in his town knew that if you wanted an answer, you could ask him. He was quick, he was sharp. He read many books, listened to many talks, and always had something to say. If someone wondered why the weather had changed, Koji had a theory. If someone asked about politics, Koji had strong opinions. If a child asked a deep question about life, Koji would give a tidy explanation. At first, this made him proud. People came to him. They nodded when he spoke. He felt important, like a small sun around which others moved. But slowly a different feeling began to creep in. When he was alone at night, Koji sometimes heard his own voice echoing in his mind. He would replay conversations and notice how often he had not really listened. While others were speaking, he had already been preparing his answers. He had not allowed their words to touch him. He had not allowed himself to be moved. One evening, he visited a small tea house at the edge of town. It was run by an old woman named Rina. Her hands were wrinkled. Her movements were slow but precise, like a well-practiced dance. The room was simple. A few tatami mats, a low table, a single flower in a small vase. Koji came there often. He liked the quiet and he liked the way the tea always tasted just right. That night, as he sipped his cup, he sighed without meaning to. Rina looked up. "Heavy thoughts tonight," she said gently. Koji shrugged. "Just tired," he replied. "People are so foolish. They ask the same questions again and again, and I keep telling them the same things, but they never really change." Rina wiped the table slowly. "It must be hard to be the one who knows," she said. Koji frowned. "What do you mean?" She tilted her head. "When I was younger," she said, "I also tried to know everything. I thought if I always had an answer, people would trust me and I would feel safe. But after many years, I realized something. The more I pretended to know, the less I really learned. My answers became like a wall between me and the world." Koji shifted on his cushion. "So what did you do?" he asked. Rina smiled. "I started to practice a strange thing," she said. "When I did not know, I said so out loud. I don't know. At first, my mouth felt stiff like I was learning a new language, but slowly I noticed something. When I said I don't know, my ears opened, my eyes opened, my heart opened. Instead of jumping to the end of the story, I could walk with the person from the beginning." Koji stared into his tea. The idea made him uneasy. "But what if people lose respect?" he said. "What if they think you are ignorant?" Rina poured a little more tea into his cup. "Some did," she said. "A few stopped coming. They preferred strong opinions to honest silence. But others stayed, and with them, real conversation began." She paused, then added, "Respect built on pretending is very fragile. Respect built on truth can last." That night, Koji walked home slowly. The streets were quiet, the moon hung low over the roofs. He thought of all the times he had answered with confidence while a small voice inside whispered, "You are not sure. You are guessing." He thought of questions about grief, about meaning, about the future, big questions, questions that perhaps no one can fully answer. Yet he had spoken as if he could. He felt a small ache in his chest, not only for himself, but for the people he had given easy answers to, when what they needed was someone to stand with them in not knowing. A few days later, Koji had a chance to try Rina's practice. A friend came to him troubled. "My father is ill," the friend said. "The doctors do not know if he will recover. I keep asking myself why this is happening. Did he do something wrong? Is it karma? Is it punishment? I want to understand." Koji felt his old habits wake up. He had read many things about karma. He had heard many teachings about suffering. A part of him wanted to lay these words out like tools to build a neat explanation and hand it over. But then he remembered the tea house, the old woman's calm face, the feeling of his own tiredness when he always had to know. He took a breath. He felt his own fear of not being helpful. He felt his own discomfort. Then very softly, he said, "I don't know why this is happening." The words felt heavy as they left his mouth, as if he had just placed a stone on the table between them. But something else happened too. His shoulders relaxed, his chest opened. Because he had not rushed to fill the silence, he could feel the depth of his friend's pain. He could see the trembling in his hands, the dark circles under his eyes. "I don't know," Koji repeated, "but I can sit with you in the not knowing." His friend's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," he whispered. That evening, Koji realized that sometimes "I don't know" is not an empty space. It is a shared space, a place where two people can be honest and human together. In another town, not far from Koji's, there was a university professor named Sora. She taught literature and philosophy. Her students admired her. She could quote many authors from memory. Her lectures were clear and impressive. But one semester, she received a student named Emmy who asked strange questions. When Sora explained a poem, Emmy would raise her hand and say, "How do we know the poet meant that? Could it also mean something else?" When Sora gave her opinion about a character's decision in a story, Emmy would ask, "Have you ever felt that way yourself, or is this only theory?" At first, Sora felt threatened. A small spark of anger flared inside her. "I am the expert here," she thought. "I am supposed to know." Yet late one night, as she prepared her next class, she caught herself writing in her notes, "We do not know exactly what the poet felt. We can only see the traces and bring our own hearts to meet them." She looked at the sentence and realized with surprise that it felt truer than many of her confident statements. The next day in class, when a student asked what a certain symbol really meant, Sora paused. The room grew still. She could feel all the eyes on her, waiting. In that small silence, she heard herself say, "I don't know for sure." A murmur went through the room, then she continued, "I have some ideas. I have read what other scholars think, but the truth is the poet is not here for us to ask. So maybe the better question is not what is the correct meaning, but what happens in you when you read this." The discussion that followed was different from her usual classes. Students spoke more personally. They listened to each other. They did not rush to decide which answer was right. The room felt more alive, as if fresh air had entered. That night, Sora walked home feeling both vulnerable and strangely free. She realized that her job was not to be a machine that produced correct interpretations. It was to create a space where not knowing could become a shared adventure, where curiosity could breathe. In a small clinic in another part of the country, a young doctor named Haru faced a harder test. One day, a mother brought in her child, a boy with a strange fever and a rash. Haru examined him, asked questions, and thought he recognized a common illness. He was about to send them home with simple medicine when an older nurse touched his arm. "Something feels off," she whispered. "His breathing is shallow. Look again." Haru felt a blush of irritation. He did not like having his judgment questioned, yet when he looked closely, he saw it. The boy's chest was rising too quickly. His lips were slightly pale. A knot formed in Haru's stomach. He realized he was not sure what was happening. This was not one of the clear cases from his textbooks. His pride fought within him. If he admitted he did not know, would he look weak? Would the mother lose faith in him? But then another thought came. If he pretended to know and was wrong, the boy might be harmed. The choice became simple. Haru turned to the mother. His voice was steady but humble. "I am not completely sure what is happening," he said. "I think we need more tests than we can do here. I would like to send you to a larger hospital where they have specialists and better equipment." The mother's eyes widened with fear, but she also saw the seriousness in Haru's face. She agreed. Later, Haru learned that the boy had a rare condition that needed quick treatment. If he had been sent home, things could have become very dangerous. That night, Haru sat alone in his small office. He felt shaken, but also deeply grateful. "I don't know" had not been a failure. It had been the most honest and caring choice. It had saved a life. As you lie here, you may notice the places in your own life where you feel pressured to always know, to always have a plan, to always pretend you are sure even when you are not. This constant pretending is tiring. It keeps the mind racing even in the dark. Tonight you are allowed to set that down. If a question about your future rises up, whisper inwardly, "Right now, I don't know." If a worry demands a perfect answer, whisper, "Right now, I don't know." Feel how these words create a little space around the problem, like stepping back from a painting so you can see more than one color. You do not have to solve your life before you sleep. You only have to admit that it is unsolved, and that this is all right for now. In our next part, we will explore how beginner's mind can turn judgment into curiosity, and how that simple shift can transform the way you relate to yourself, to others, and to the small imperfections of your day. From the spaces where Koji, Sora, and Haru learned to say, "I don't know," our path now moves toward another doorway into beginner's mind. This doorway is quieter, but it touches almost every moment of your day. It is the shift from quick judgment to gentle curiosity. Judgment is fast. It rushes in with labels. Good, bad, success, failure, worthy, unworthy. It feels sharp and certain. Curiosity is slower. It does not rush to decide. It asks simple questions. What is this? How does it feel? What is really happening here? When your mind is full of judgment, your world becomes tight and narrow. When curiosity appears, even for a moment, a little more air enters the room. There was once a potter named Ren. He was known in his village for his skill. His bowls were even, his cups were smooth, his plates stacked perfectly. Merchants liked his work because every piece matched the last. Customers knew what to expect. Ren took pride in this. His workshop was neat. His tools were lined up in order. The shelves held rows of identical bowls, like soldiers standing to attention. One day, a new potter set up a stall near the market. Her name was Mina. Her pieces were different. No two were exactly the same. The glazes ran in unexpected ways. Some bowls tilted slightly. Some cups had small ridges where the fingers had pressed the clay. At first, people were unsure. Then slowly they began to gather around her table. They picked up her cups and smiled. "This one looks like a small wave," someone said. "This one feels like it fits just my hand," another remarked. Ren walked past her stall and felt a prick of irritation. He picked up one of her bowls and turned it over. The shape is uneven, he thought. The glaze is not controlled. This is careless work. Yet he could not deny the warmth in the faces of the people touching her pottery. That evening, alone in his workshop, Ren threw a new bowl on the wheel. His hands moved with practiced motions. The clay rose into a perfect curve, exactly the way he had done it 1,000 times. He looked at it and felt nothing. No joy, no surprise, only the dull comfort of sameness. "What is wrong with everyone?" he muttered. "Why do they like her mistakes?" The word mistakes echoed in his mind. His jaw tightened. He caught himself and took a breath. Somewhere inside, beneath his pride, another voice spoke. It was quieter, almost shy. It did not say, "She is better than you." It did not say, "You are failing." It only asked, "What if there is something here you do not yet see?" Ren stared at the bowl spinning on the wheel. For most of his life, he had met difference with judgment. This is right, that is wrong. This is good pottery, that is bad. Curiosity felt unfamiliar, as if he were being asked to step barefoot onto a path he could not see clearly. The next day, when the market closed, Ren walked to Mina's stall. She was packing up her unsold pieces. He hesitated, then spoke. "Your bowls are unusual," he said. "They do not look like the ones I was taught to make." Mina looked up. Her eyes were kind. "Thank you for coming," she replied. "Would you like to see how I work?" Ren's first instinct was to refuse. He did not want to seem like a student. He was the established potter here. But the quiet question in his chest pushed him forward. "Yes," he said. Later, in her small studio, Ren watched as Mina placed a lump of clay on the wheel. She did not center it perfectly. The clay wobbled slightly under her hands. "You see," she said, "I learned the traditional way too. For many years I chased perfect circles, but one day I noticed that the pieces I loved most were not the perfect ones. They were the ones where something unexpected happened. A little lean, a small swirl, a place where my control and the nature of the clay met halfway." She pressed her thumbs into the turning clay. The wall of the pot rose not into a straight cylinder, but into a soft curve that leaned a little to one side, like a person tilting their head while listening. "When I work," she continued, "I try to stay curious. What is the clay doing now? How does it want to move? If a small accident happens, instead of throwing the piece away, I ask, can this accident become a feature? Can it teach me a new shape?" Ren watched in silence. His mind kept trying to categorize. Right, wrong, skilled, unskilled. But each time a judgment formed, another part of him whispered, "Wait, just see." He noticed that Mina's attention was not loose. She was not careless. She was fully there with the clay, responding to each tiny shift. Her curiosity did not mean lack of discipline. It meant a different kind of relationship with the material, one where she was not forcing it into a rigid idea of perfection, but exploring together with it. That night, back at his own wheel, Ren tried a small experiment. He took a ball of clay and, instead of placing it exactly in the center, he set it just a little off. Not so much that it would fly apart, but enough that it wobbled. As the wheel turned, the clay moved in an uneven rhythm. His hands wanted to correct it immediately, to push it into the familiar shape. Instead, he remembered Mina's question. What is it doing now? He followed the wobble with his palms, letting it stretch in a new curve. The bowl that emerged was not like the ones on his shelves. It leaned slightly. The rim had a subtle wave. He felt a flicker of judgment. "This is wrong," his old training said. But another feeling rose too. "This is Interesting. He held the bowl in his hands. It felt more like a person than an object, alive in a small, quiet way. Over the next weeks, Ren continued to make his usual symmetrical pieces for his customers. But in the evenings, when the orders were done, he played. He gave himself permission to be a beginner again, to make crooked bowls, to let the glaze run in unusual patterns, to keep a few mistakes and ask what they might teach him. Sometimes the results were ugly. Sometimes they were beautiful in ways he could not have designed. He began to notice how often his harshest judgments came up not only in the workshop, but in his own mind. When he felt tired, he judged himself as lazy. When he made a small social error, he judged himself as foolish. When a new idea felt scary, he judged himself as weak. Slowly, he started to replace some of these judgments with questions. What if this tiredness is my body asking for care? What if this mistake is my mind learning? What if this fear is a door, not a wall? Curiosity did not erase all his self-criticism overnight, but it made it softer, less final. In another part of the country, a gardener named Hana faced her own battle with judgment. She worked in a large estate full of trees, flowers, and winding paths. When she first arrived, a strict set of rules greeted her. The hedges must be cut in this shape. The roses must be arranged in this pattern. No wild plants allowed, everything neat, everything controlled. For years, Hana followed these rules. She pruned, she trimmed, she pulled out any plant that did not belong. The garden looked beautiful in a formal way, like a painting that never changed. But something in her felt tight. One spring, after heavy rains, a patch of wildflowers appeared in a corner of the lawn. They had not been planted. The seeds had blown in from somewhere else. Their colors were bright. Their shapes were irregular. Hana's first thought was, "These are weeds. They must go." Her hand reached for the tools. Then she paused. The afternoon light fell across the petals in a way that made them glow. Bees moved from flower to flower, busy and content. The patch looked like a small festival that the garden had decided to host on its own. A thought arose in Hana's mind, gentle but clear. What if just this once I do not judge them right away? She knelt down and really looked. Not as an enforcer of rules, but as a witness. Yellow, purple, white, different heights, different leaves, a small world of variety. The more she looked, the less they seemed like intruders and the more they seemed like spontaneous guests. She decided to leave them for a week and see what happened. In that week, something shifted in her. She still cared for the trimmed hedges and the planned flower beds. But her eyes also began to seek out the small surprises. A fern growing from a crack in a stone, moss covering the base of a statue, 3 tiny mushrooms appearing overnight near a tree. Her old judgment would have said, remove, clean, control. Her new curiosity asked, what are you showing me? When the estate owner walked through the garden and noticed the wildflowers, he frowned at first. These are not in the plan, he said. Hana felt fear rise, but instead of apologizing quickly, she shared what she had seen. The bees, the unexpected colors, the feeling of life sneaking in from outside the design. She spoke with quiet enthusiasm, not defensiveness. The owner listened. His face softened. Perhaps, he said, we can allow one corner for what the garden chooses, a small place for surprise. Judgment had given way to curiosity. Curiosity had turned into conversation. Conversation had created change. As you rest here now, you might notice your own inner judge. It often speaks in hard, simple phrases. This is stupid. I always fail. That person is impossible. I should be better by now. These thoughts are like tight knots in a rope. Pulling them harder only makes them stronger. Tonight, you do not need to push them away. You can try something different. When a harsh judgment about yourself appears, gently ask, what is really happening here? If you think, I am lazy, you might ask, am I truly lazy, or am I tired or afraid or overwhelmed? If you think, I am broken, you might ask, where did I learn to speak to myself this way? Whose voice am I echoing? Shalom. If you judge someone else, even in your mind, they are terrible. You might ask, what pain might be behind their behavior? What would I feel if I were in their situation? Curiosity does not mean you excuse harmful actions. It does not mean you pretend everything is fine. It simply opens a little space between stimulus and response. In that space, your heart has room to breathe. Your body can relax. Sleep can come more easily when the mind is not busy delivering harsh verdicts about the day. In the next part of our journey, we will explore how beginner's mind is not childish, but childlike, and how returning to a softer, more playful way of seeing can bring wisdom and ease to a grown-up life that has forgotten how to wonder. From Ren's turning wheel and Hana's wild corner of the garden where judgment slowly softened into curiosity, our journey now turns toward another face of beginner's mind. This one is softer, lighter. It lives in laughter, in play, in the simple joy of noticing small things. It is the childlike part of you that never fully disappears, even when life becomes heavy and complicated. Many people confuse childlike with childish. Childish means refusing to grow, clinging to comfort, demanding that the world be easy. Childlike is different. It is the courage to stay open, to be surprised, to admit delight, to kneel down and look closely at an ant, a leaf, a reflection in a puddle, even when you are old enough to have gray hair and many responsibilities. In a quiet mountain temple, there was a monk named Rio. He was respected for his discipline. He rose before dawn every day. He chanted, he meditated, he did his chores without complaint, but he rarely smiled. His brow carried a small, constant line as if he was always holding back something. One afternoon, while sweeping the courtyard, Rio heard laughter on the other side of the wall. Bright, clear laughter. Children. He frowned at first. This was a temple, a place of seriousness. Why so much noise? A ball bounced over the low wall and rolled to his feet. A small boy climbed up, peering over. "Excuse me, sir," the boy said. "Can we have our ball back?" Rio picked it up. It was simple, worn, a little dirty. "You should not play so close to the temple," he said. "This is a place for quiet practice." The boy's face fell. "I am sorry," he murmured. Rio hesitated. He felt the broom handle in his hand. He looked at the ball. Something in him remembered being small and running across fields, lungs burning, heart alive. For a breath, the line in his brow softened. "Wait," he said. "How do you play?" The boy's eyes brightened again. "We throw the ball over the wall," he explained, "and the others try to catch it. Sometimes it goes too far. We did not mean to disturb you." Rio listened. A strange idea came to him. It felt foolish. It felt undignified. It also felt like a small door opening in his chest. "Throw it again," he said. "I will try to catch it." The boy stared, surprised. Then his face broke into a grin. He ran back to his friends. A moment later, the ball came sailing over the wall. Rio reached up. He almost missed. The ball brushed his fingertips, then landed in his hands with a soft smack. The children cheered. Something like warmth rose in his chest. They threw it again. He missed this time. The ball bounced away across the stones. The children laughed. Rio found himself laughing too, a sound he had not heard from his own mouth in a long time. For the next few minutes, the temple wall became not a barrier but a playmate. The ball flew back and forth. No one kept score, no one cared who was winning. There was only the simple joy of movement and surprise. Eventually, the children had to go home. Rio stood alone in the courtyard again, broom in hand. The silence returned, but it felt different now. Less heavy, more alive. Later, during evening meditation, he noticed that his breath flowed more easily. His body felt looser. His mind was not as harsh. He realized that in his effort to be a serious monk, he had been squeezing joy out of his practice. He had forgotten that Zen points back to a very simple, natural way of being that children often live without trying. The next day, when he swept the courtyard, he did it with a lighter heart. Each stroke of the broom felt less like a duty and more like part of a dance. In a nearby town, an artist named Aya was facing a different struggle. She painted for a living. Her early work had been full of bold colors and strange shapes. People loved the freshness of it. But as her fame grew, something shifted. Galleries wanted more. Clients had demands. Her paintings began to sell for higher prices. With each success, Aya felt more pressure to prove herself. She worked longer hours. She erased and corrected every detail. She stopped using bright colors and chose serious, muted tones instead. "I am a mature artist now," she told herself. "I must be profound." One afternoon, a friend visited her studio. The walls were lined with large, careful paintings. They were technically impressive, but they felt cold. The friend walked slowly around the room. "Your work is skilled," he said. "But something is missing." Aya bristled. "What do you mean?" she asked. He hesitated. "Do you still enjoy painting?" he asked gently. Aya opened her mouth to say yes. Instead, she felt tears rise. She realized with a start that she had not laughed in her studio for months. She painted with a tight jaw, shallow breaths, eyes narrowed in constant judgment. After her friend left, Aya sat alone, staring at a blank canvas. Memories floated up. As a child, she had painted with her fingers. She had mixed colors just to see what would happen. She had drawn crooked houses with huge windows, animals with wings, moons that smiled. No one had told her if it was good or bad. It had simply been fun. She missed that feeling like someone might miss an old friend. Slowly, she walked to a closet and pulled out a small box. Inside were a few drawings from her childhood that her mother had saved. She spread them on the floor. The lines were messy. The proportions were wrong, but the images were alive. They pulsed with feeling. She saw in those drawings something her adult work had lost: play. The next morning, Aya made a quiet promise. For 1 hour each day, she would paint like a child again. No clients, no critics, no thought of showing anyone, just play. She set a timer. She squeezed paint onto a palette in bright, almost shocking colors. Her hand trembled slightly as she made the first stroke, not from fear of failing, but from fear of being seen as silly, even by herself. As the minutes passed, the fear loosened. Her brush moved faster. She forgot the rules she had built around herself. Trees could be blue. Faces could have 3 eyes. Skies could be green. Nothing needed to make sense. When the timer rang, she stepped back. The painting on the easel was wild, chaotic, imperfect. But her heart felt strangely light. Her shoulders had dropped. Her breath was deep. She laughed out loud, alone in the studio. Over time, this daily hour of play began to spill into her serious work. Not in the same reckless shapes, but in a new freedom of line, a new courage with color, a new softness in the way she treated her own mistakes. Critics later said her style had evolved. She knew that what had really happened was that her inner child had been invited back into the room. In a small coastal village, an old tea master named Kenji prepared for a visit from a group of important guests. They were scholars and officials, people used to grand displays. His disciples suggested an elaborate arrangement of rare flowers for the tea room. "We must impress them," they said. Kenji listened quietly. Then the morning of the gathering, he went for a walk in the hills. Along the path, he noticed a single wildflower growing from a crack in a rock. It was simple. Its petals were slightly torn by the wind, yet it stood there with quiet courage. He knelt and looked at it for a long time, the way a child might look at a bug on the ground. When he returned to the tea room, he placed that one wildflower in a plain vase at the center. Nothing else. The guests arrived. They looked around, expecting richness. Their eyes settled on the single flower. Some frowned, confused. One muttered, "Is this all?" Kenji poured the tea with calm hands. After a while, the room grew quiet. The guests, having nothing fancy to distract them, began to really see the flower, the curve of its stem, the way the light fell on one side of the petals, the small trembling when a faint breeze entered the room. Something in them softened. Their tired adult minds, always busy comparing, judging, calculating, were given a simple childlike task. Just look. Just be with this one small living thing. Later, one of them said, "I came expecting to be impressed. Instead, I feel peaceful." Childlike wonder had entered through a crack in their armor. As you lie here now, you might feel how the grown-up part of you has worked hard all day. It has tried to be responsible, efficient, serious. That part is important. It keeps you safe. It pays the bills. It solves problems. But there is another part of you that is much older and much younger at the same time. The part that once stared at clouds and saw animals. The part that got lost in the pattern of wood grain on a table. The part that found whole worlds in shadows on the wall before sleep. Tonight you can invite that part to come sit beside you again. Without opening your eyes, you can imagine something small and simple in your room. The way the bed sheet folds, the texture of your pillow, the feeling of your own breath moving in and out like the tide. Pretend, just for a moment, that you are discovering these things for the first time, not as an adult checking a list, but as a child exploring a new world. You do not need to force this. You do not need to make it dramatic. A single second of soft, quiet wonder is enough. Sleep often comes more easily to children, not because their lives are always simple, but because they have not yet learned to hold everything so tightly. Tonight you are allowed to loosen your grip, just a little, to let your thoughts be less heavy, to let your attention rest on small, gentle details. In the next part of our journey, we will step even closer to the heart of beginner's mind and see how, in truth, every moment of your life is new, even when it feels like a repeat, and how noticing this can bring a deep sense of peace to your nights and your days. From the laughter in the temple courtyard and the wild colors in Aya's studio, our journey now moves into the quiet center of beginner's mind. We have emptied the cup a little. We have looked again at familiar things. We have dared to say, "I don't know." We have softened judgment into curiosity. We have welcomed childlike wonder back into a serious life. Now we come to a simple truth that all these paths point toward. It is this: every single moment of your life is new. Not one has ever existed before. Not one will ever be repeated. It is easy to hear that and nod. Yes, of course, time moves forward, but most of the time we do not feel it. Our days seem like copies of each other. Wake up, work, eat, scroll, sleep, repeat. The mind says, "I have seen all this already." Beginner's mind says, "Not like this, not today." In a small monastery, there was a young monk named Daichi. His job was to clean the meditation hall each morning, sweep the floor, wipe the cushions, straighten the mats. At first, he enjoyed the work, the smell of the wood, the light coming in through the paper windows, the feeling of being useful. But after months, then years, it all blended together. One morning, as he pushed the broom across the floor, he muttered under his breath, "Same thing every day. Nothing ever changes here." An older monk named Jinen happened to pass by the doorway. He heard the words and stopped. "Nothing ever changes," he repeated. "Is that so?" Daichi flushed with embarrassment. "I only mean," he said, "well, that my life is very repetitive. Every morning I sweep this same floor. Every day I chant the same chants. It feels like I am going in circles." Jinen stepped into the hall. His steps were slow but sure. He looked at the floor. "Tell me," he said, "is this the same dust as yesterday?" Daichi frowned. "Of course not," he said. "Yesterday's dust is gone. This is new dust." "And are you the same as yesterday?" Jinen asked. Daichi opened his mouth to say yes. Then he paused. His knees ached a little more than they had a year ago. His mind was filled with different thoughts. He had had dreams in the night that he had never had before. He had heard words from others that had left marks in his heart. "Not exactly," he admitted. Jinen nodded. "And the light," he continued. "Is it the same light that shone here last year or the year before?" Daichi looked around. The morning sun was lower in the sky than it had been in summer. The shadows fell at a slightly different angle. The color of the light was softer. Outside the window, a single leaf fell from a tree that had been full and green just a short time ago. "No," Daichi said slowly. "It is not the same." Jinen smiled faintly. "So here you are," he said, "with new dust and new light as a new person in a world that has shifted since yesterday. And still you say nothing ever changes. Perhaps it is not the world that repeats, but the way you are looking." His voice was gentle, not scolding. "To say this again is to fall asleep while you are awake. To say this too is new is to wake up in the middle of an ordinary day." He turned to leave, then added, "Sweep this floor as if it has never been swept before. Because it has not. Not by you. Not today. Not in this exact world." After he left, Daichi stood still for a moment. The broom was light in his hands, the hall was quiet. He took a breath and decided to experiment. Just for this morning, he would treat each stroke of the broom as something unique, not part of always, but part of now. He noticed the slight sound the bristles made as they moved over the wood. Noticed the way small specks of dust caught the light before they settled. Noticed the feeling in his arms, the way his muscles stretched and relaxed. The task did not become exciting. It did not turn into a festival. But it no longer felt like dead repetition. It felt more like a song with many small notes, each one different, each one passing. In a busy city far from any monastery, a woman named Lena rode the same bus to work every morning. She sat in the same seat whenever she could. She saw the same street corners, the same shops, the same stretch of river through the window. Over time, she stopped really seeing any of it. Her eyes were on her phone. Her thoughts were ahead of her, in meetings that had not happened yet or worries that might never come. One day, stuck in traffic, the bus lingered on a bridge longer than usual. Lena, bored, looked up from her screen. Below, the river moved. It was the same river she had crossed for years, but something about the way the light hit it that morning caught her. The water was not flat. It swirled in small patterns. A piece of driftwood spun in a slow circle before the current carried it on. The surface reflected the sky, but the reflection shook and shimmered with each tiny wave. For a few seconds, Lena simply watched. She felt a small sense of strangeness, as if she were seeing the river for the first time. Even though she had technically seen it hundreds of times, a thought came, soft and surprising. This exact view has never existed before. This mix of light and cloud and water and wind, it will never exist again. The bus started to move. She looked at the other passengers. A man rubbing his eyes, a child humming to herself, an older woman staring out the window with a tired expression. All of them had ridden buses many times. All of them had had mornings that seemed the same, yet each one of them was living a moment that would never come back. Lena did not suddenly become enlightened, but that day at work when a colleague complained, "Every day is the same," she felt a quiet disagreement in her chest. Later, while washing dishes at home, she practiced a small exercise. She told herself, "This is the only time in my life I will ever wash this plate in this water, with this exact mix of thoughts and feelings inside me." The plate looked ordinary. The task was ordinary. But the sense of a small, unrepeatable moment made her feel more present, less trapped in the story of same old life. In another part of the world, an old fisherman named Isamu sat in his boat at dawn. He had gone out to sea almost every day for 50 years. A young man from the village, curious and restless, joined him one morning. As the boat rocked gently on the water, the young man said, "You must be so bored. This sea, day after day, always the same." Isamu chuckled. Deep lines formed at the corners of his eyes. "Same," he said. "Do you think so? Look." He pointed at the horizon. "I have watched the sun rise from this boat thousands of times, but never like this. Sometimes the sky is purple, sometimes it is gold, sometimes it hides behind clouds. Sometimes it climbs quickly, sometimes slowly. The wind changes, the waves change. My own heart changes. When my first son was born, this sea looked different to me than it did the day my father died. The fish are not the same. The currents are not the same. My hands are not the same. So how could this morning be the same?" The young man frowned. "But you go to the same places," he insisted. Isamu nodded. "The places have names. We say the cove, the reef, the deep water. But under the surface, everything moves. Sand shifts, rocks fall, plants grow, creatures come and go. You could spend your whole life on this sea and never see the same water twice." He dipped his hand over the side and let the cool salt water run through his fingers. "The only thing that makes it feel the same is the mind that has decided it already knows what is here. That mind stops looking. It sails past living details as if they were painted on a wall." The young man was quiet. He watched the patterns of foam near the boat. He felt the air on his face. It smelled of salt and something sharp and clean. Maybe, he thought, the old man is right. Maybe it is not the sea that is dull, but my way of meeting it. Tonight, as you listen, your mind may say, "Another night like all the others. Another attempt to sleep, nothing new." It is kind to acknowledge that feeling. Long patterns of insomnia or worry can make each night seem like a repeat of the last. But beneath that story, there is a simple fact. This night has never happened before. Your body has never lain in this exact way, with this exact mix of tiredness and experience. Your breath has never moved in and out in precisely this rhythm, at precisely this age, after precisely this day. The sounds around you are not a recording. They are a live moment. A car in the distance, a faint hum of electricity, a dog barking somewhere, a leaf brushing the window. Even silence has shades like colors in the dark. You do not have to force yourself to feel that everything is new. That would only create more tension. But you can gently invite the question, what is here right now that I have never noticed before? Maybe it is the way your heartbeat feels in your chest as you lie on your side. Maybe it is a tiny flicker of light behind your closed eyes. Maybe it is a memory rising that you had not thought of in years. You do not have to chase these things. Just notice them like small lights appearing briefly along a path. When you tell yourself, "Every night is the same," your nervous system braces. It prepares for struggle. When you whisper, "This night is also new," something inside has a chance to unclench. Old fear loosens its grip, even if only a little. That small looseness is often all sleep needs in order to find you. Beginner's mind does not mean you deny your history. It does not mean you pretend that patterns do not exist. It simply means you do not let those patterns cover the living reality of this moment like a blanket. You lift the edge just enough to peek underneath. There you may glimpse a freshness that has been present all along, quietly waiting for you to notice. As our journey continues, we will begin to gather these threads together. Emptiness of the cup, fresh eyes, honest not knowing, gentle curiosity, childlike wonder, the newness of each moment. We will see how they all lead toward the same simple practice, meeting your life as it is with a softer heart, so that rest, wisdom, and peace have room to enter, especially when the night feels long. From the monastery hall where Daiichi swept new dust and new light, from the city bus where Lena finally saw the river, from Isamu's boat on the ever-changing sea, our path now turns toward you. Not the idea of you, the real you, the one lying here in this bed, with this body after this long and particular day. We have watched many others discover beginner's mind. It is easy to see it in their stories. The farmer, the scholar, the craftspeople, the monk, the artist, the old fisherman. Their moments can feel clear, almost simple, like scenes from a film. But your own life may feel less clear, more tangled, more ordinary. You might be thinking, all of this is beautiful, but tomorrow I still wake up and face the same problems. The same job, the same people, the same thoughts. How can beginner's mind really live in my messy, busy day? Tonight as you rest, you do not need a perfect answer. You do not need a grand plan. You only need a few small doors so simple and so gentle that your tired mind can actually walk through them. Imagine for a moment the day you just lived as if it were a long piece of cloth laid out before you, from the moment you woke up until now. Many threads, some bright, some dark, some thick, some thin. Many parts of that cloth might look familiar to yesterday and the day before. The same commute, the same kitchen, the same faces, the same worries that rise at certain hours like birds returning to a nest. Beginner's mind does not ask you to throw this cloth away and weave a completely new one. It invites you to touch it differently. To find a few threads and hold them with new hands. One thread might be your mornings. Perhaps you usually wake up and reach for your phone immediately. News, messages, notifications. The mind fills quickly like the scholar's cup before you have even taken your first real breath of the day. What would it be like to borrow one thing from the old stories and place it gently into your morning? Not a huge ritual. Just a small pause. You could wake, feel the sheet against your skin, and before you look at anything glowing, you whisper inwardly, "Empty cup." One simple breath, in and out. One moment of not knowing what the world wants from you yet. 1 second of being no one's employee, no one's parent, no one's partner, no one's problem solver. Just a living being opening its eyes to a new day that has never existed before. That breath could become your first act of beginner's mind. Another thread might appear in the middle of your day in a place you know too well. Maybe it is a desk. Maybe it is a sink full of dishes. Maybe it is a street corner with a traffic light that always seems to stay red too long. The mind loves to say, "Here we go again," at these places. It stops looking. It goes on automatic. What would it be like to borrow Aiko's way of touching the wooden box? Hana's way of looking at the wildflowers? Lena's way of seeing the river for just a few seconds in those spots? You might stand at the sink and say quietly to yourself, "First time." Not because it literally is the first time, but because this exact combination of light on the water, this exact temperature of air on your skin, this exact mix of tiredness and memory in your chest really has never happened before. You do not need to become ecstatic about it. You do not need to force gratitude. You only need to let your attention land fully for a breath or two. The plate in your hand is just a plate, but it is also the only plate you will ever wash in this precise moment of your life. When you meet it that way, you are not wasting your time, even in chores. You are alive inside them. Another thread might be the way you talk to yourself when things go wrong. The harsh judge, the fast critic. I always mess up. I should be better. I am behind. I am too much. I am not enough. These sentences are heavy. They pull your mind into tight circles. You could borrow one small tool from Koji and Sora and Haru. The courage to say, I don't know, not as an excuse, but as an opening. When you catch yourself thinking, I always do this, you can gently answer, I don't actually know that. I am still changing. I am still learning. When your mind says this will never get better, you can answer, I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I don't know how I will grow. I don't know what I might learn. These words do not solve everything. They do not erase pain, but they loosen the knot. They make room for new possibilities that a tight, all-knowing judgment would have crushed. Curiosity can join in like a quiet friend. Instead of, I am a failure, you might ask, what really happened today? Where was I tired? Where was I afraid? What might I try differently next time? The tone matters, not an interrogation. A gentle interview like Mina asking the clay, what are you doing now, instead of shouting, you are wrong. When you relate to yourself this way, your nervous system slowly learns that it is safe to relax. That mistakes are not punishments but information, that you do not have to stay on guard every second to defend yourself from your own mind. Even your relationships can become small fields for beginner's mind to grow, without anyone else knowing what you are doing. You may have someone in your life whom you feel you already understand completely. A partner, a friend, a parent, a colleague. Your mind holds a long list of their traits. They always react this way. They never listen. They are like this, not like that. These stories might feel solid. Some of them may be based on years of experience, but even then they can become cages, both for them and for you. What would it be like to look at them even once in a while the way the tea guests were forced to look at the single wildflower? Not through the lens of expectations, but as if you were meeting them for the first time. This does not mean you ignore real harm or pretend unhealthy patterns are fine. It simply means you leave a small space in your view of them, a space where they might surprise you, where you might notice something you have not seen. A new line on their face that shows how tired they are. A small kindness they do in passing. A hesitation that hints at fear rather than stubbornness. When you see them this way, you are practicing beginner's mind in one of the most powerful places of all, the field of human connection. The more you do this, the easier it becomes to offer the same freshness to yourself. Sometimes beginner's mind is not about adding anything. It is about subtracting just for a while. Subtracting the extra stories you pile on top of life. Not, I am a disaster in general, but today was a hard day. Not, my life is ruined, but this situation hurts right now. Not, I will never change, but change is slow and I am in the middle of it. These lighter sentences leave room for breath. They leave room for sleep. As you lie here, you can think of tomorrow not as a fixed, heavy block of hours waiting to crush you, but as a sheet of paper that has not yet been written on. Your mind will want to scribble on it in advance, filling it with fears and plans. That is natural. You do not need to fight that. You only need to remember that the actual day when it arrives will be more complex, more alive, and more creative than anything you imagine tonight. There will be small moments of warmth you cannot predict, a smile, a song you hear by accident, a brief feeling of relief after finishing a task, a patch of sunlight on the floor. Perhaps also a moment when you remember these stories and take one beginner's breath in the middle of an ordinary scene. That breath is like a thread connecting the old Zen halls and workshops and rivers to your own kitchen, your own street, your own pillow. In the next part of our journey, we will begin to move more deeply into the night itself, using all that we have gathered to create an inner space where your thoughts can soften. Your body can trust the bed that holds it, and sleep can arrive not as an enemy to be chased, but as a quiet friend you are finally ready to welcome. From the long cloth of your day that we gently examined, from the small doors of empty cup, first time, and I don't know, our journey now begins to turn inward, toward a place you can return to again and again, a place that does not depend on what happens tomorrow, a place that does not belong to anyone else, a place that lives quietly inside you, even when life outside is loud. You might think of it as a small secret room in the middle of your chest, not a room made of walls and doors, but a room made of attention and kindness. You have already visited this room many times without naming it. When you stared at the sky for a moment and forgot what you were worried about. When you held a warm cup and actually felt the warmth. When you listened to someone you love and just for a minute stopped thinking about what you would say next. Those are all brief visits to the quiet room. Tonight we will step inside on purpose, not by forcing silence, not by pushing thoughts away, but by changing how we relate to them. To begin, notice your body again, not as a problem to fix, not as a machine that did not perform well enough today, just as a body, a living creature that has carried you from the moment you woke up until now. It has walked or sat, it has eaten, it has digested, it has breathed thousands of times without your help. It has reacted to every emotion that passed through you. Tightening, loosening, speeding up, slowing down. It has done its best, even if it feels tense now. Let your attention move very simply. Feel the back of your head resting on the pillow. Feel the weight of your shoulders. Feel where your back meets the bed or chair. Feel the heaviness of your hips, your legs, your feet. You do not need to describe these sensations, just notice them as if you were placing a gentle hand on each part without moving at all. Now imagine that somewhere behind your breastbone there is a doorway. It does not look special. Maybe it is just a simple wooden door. Maybe it is a curtain. Maybe it is simply an opening in the air. On the other side is your quiet room, the room no one else can enter unless you invite them, the room where you are not playing any role. You are not being productive. You are not being impressive. You are not being good or bad. You are just being. Thoughts will probably come as you stand at this doorway. Am I doing this right? What if I still cannot sleep? What about tomorrow? What about that thing I said earlier? This is normal. The mind is like a river that has been running fast all day. It does not stop just because you suddenly wish for still water. Beginner's mind does not ask the river to become frozen. It simply stops trying to fight the current. Instead of answering every thought, imagine that each one is like a small cloud passing above the doorway. You see it. You name it quietly. Planning. Remembering. Judging. Fearing. Hoping. Then instead of climbing into it, you let it drift. You do not push it away. You do not pull it closer. You just let it move. This simple naming and letting go is like taking weight off your shoulders, one small stone at a time. When you are ready, imagine that you step through the doorway into the quiet room. Inside, there is a soft place to sit or lie down. The light is gentle, not bright. The air feels just right on your skin. In this room, there are no clocks, no calendars, no messages, no notifications. The world outside will not disappear, it will keep moving. But for now, it is as if you have closed a door between you and the noise. You can still think about it if you want, but you do not have to. On one wall of this room, there might be a shelf. On that shelf, you can place the characters we have met along this journey, not as heavy statues, but as light figures, like paper lanterns that hold soft light. You might place the scholar with his overflowing cup, Aiko with her wooden box, Koji and Sora and Haru learning to say, "I don't know," Ren with his leaning bowl, Hana with her wild corner of the garden, Ryo catching the ball over the temple wall, Aya painting like a child again, Daiichi sweeping new dust, Lena seeing the river, Isamu dipping his hand in the sea. Each one can sit there quietly, not teaching you, not demanding anything, just reminding you that many people have struggled in the same ways you struggle, and many of them have found small human ways to soften. You are not alone in this work. In the middle of the room there is a small cushion, or perhaps just a soft patch of floor. Imagine yourself lying down there even as your real body lies where it is. This is your deepest rest. The body in the room does not have to move. The mind in the room does not have to solve anything. If a worry appears at the edge of this space, you can imagine offering it a seat by the wall. You may sit there, you say to it gently. You do not have to leave. But you also do not get to sit on my chest tonight. It might be a money worry, a relationship worry, a health worry, a vague, heavy sadness, a restless loneliness. One by one, you place them in chairs around the room. You do not deny them. You do not argue with them. You simply do not let them drive. You can picture them as people if that helps. A tight-faced critic, a nervous planner, a small, scared child, a tired parent. They are all parts of you that have tried to protect you in their own clumsy ways. Tonight, they get to rest too, not outside in the cold, inside in the quiet but not in charge. In the very center of the room near where your imagined body is resting, there is a small light. It might be a candle, it might be a glowing coal, it might be a point of soft brightness suspended in the air. This light is your basic aliveness. It is the part of you that has been with you since before you had a name. It is not your job. It is not your history. It is not your successes or failures. It is not your spiritual progress. It is the simple fact that you are here, breathing, feeling, able to notice. You do not have to make this light. You do not have to deserve it. You do not have to protect it with effort. It burns on its own, quietly. Even on days when you feel completely lost. Even on nights when you feel broken. Even when you forget it for months. It is there. As you inhale, imagine that your breath gently fans this light, not to make it bigger, but to keep it warm. As you exhale, imagine that the light sends a soft wave of warmth through your chest, down your arms, down your spine, into your belly, your hips, your legs, your feet. In. Warmth grows. Out, warmth spreads. Slowly. Gently. No need to force any feeling. If you do not sense anything, that is fine. The image itself is enough. The mind understands pictures. It can begin to relax just by holding them. In this room, you do not have to pretend to be calm. If your heart is still racing, let it race. If your thoughts are still busy, let them be busy. You are not trying to build a perfect stillness. You are simply building a space where even your restlessness is allowed to exist without being chased or obeyed. This is one of the deepest forms of beginner's mind, to sit with your own experience without slapping labels on it. Good, bad, spiritual, unspiritual. Instead, you can say right now it is like this. Tight here, soft there, busy here, quiet there, and that is all. As you continue to breathe, you might begin to feel a small difference between you and the movements inside you. Thoughts become like birds that fly through the room. Feelings become like weather that passes through. The light in the center remains. The floor beneath you remains, the room itself remains. You are not the storm. You are the sky that holds the storm. You are not the single wave. You are the water that allows all the waves to rise and fall. When you start to sense this, even faintly, sleep becomes less frightening. Waking up in the night becomes less of an emergency. Because you know there is a place inside you that is bigger than the thoughts that appear. You can visit it with a few breaths. You can step into it with a simple image. A door, a room, a light. No one else needs to know. This is your secret practice, your heart's private temple. You can come here for 30 minutes or 30 seconds or 3 breaths. In the next part of our journey, we will learn how to use this quiet inner room to cradle you when the mind becomes very loud, when worries about sleep rise up, and when the night feels long, so that you can rest and trust even before sleep fully arrives. From the quiet room inside your chest with its small warm light and its circle of resting worries, our journey now turns toward one of the hardest moments of the night. It is the moment when you are tired, your body is lying down, but sleep has not arrived. The mind begins to whisper old lines. It is happening again. I will be exhausted tomorrow. Everyone else can sleep except me. Something is wrong with me. These thoughts are heavy. They do not only describe the night, they squeeze it. They make the bed feel harder. They make the darkness feel thicker. They can turn the simple fact of being awake into a kind of private storm. Beginner's mind offers you another way, not a magic trick, not a guarantee, but a gentle shift. It invites you to ask, what if this time, even if sleep has not come yet, I can still rest? Rest and sleep are cousins, but they are not the same. Sleep is when you cross over the line into dreams or deep blankness. Rest is any moment when you stop fighting with your experience and allow the body and mind to soften. You cannot always control when sleep comes, but you can learn to rest even while awake. This is a powerful skill. It means the night no longer has to be divided into only 2 categories. Success if I sleep, failure if I do not. There is a wide space in between. That space is where beginner's mind thrives. Imagine that it is later in this same night. Perhaps you listened for a while and drifted off. Perhaps you did not. Perhaps you fell asleep and then woke up again. You look at the clock. Numbers glow back at you. Your stomach tightens, your thoughts start to race. The quiet room inside feels far away. In that moment, you can do what you have always done. You can join the storm, you can repeat the old sentences, you can chase solutions, or you can try a new experiment. You can say to yourself very softly, right now I am simply a body lying in the dark. That is already a form of rest. You can feel the mattress under you, the pillow, the blanket. You can notice that your eyes are closed or can choose to close them. You can feel the air going in and out. You can tell your nervous system, we are not in danger. We are not being attacked. We are just here, awake in a safe place. The mind may answer, but I need sleep to function. Tomorrow will be terrible. You do not have to argue. You can acknowledge, yes, I hear that fear. Then you can add, and right now arguing will not help. What I can do is rest. This is beginner's mind meeting your own insomnia, not with a thick story, with simple facts. There was once a woman named May who struggled with sleepless nights for many years. She tried many methods, herbal teas, strict routines, heavy rules about screens and food. Some helped a little, some did nothing. The thing that made her suffer most was not the lack of sleep itself, but the way she spoke to herself when she was awake at midnight or 3 in the morning. Why can't you do something so basic? She would think. Even children can sleep. What's wrong with you? The more she attacked herself, the more tense she became. Her heart would race. Her body would buzz. Sleep moved farther away like a bird that does not land when it hears shouting. One day, she visited a meditation teacher. She expected complicated advice. Instead, he asked her a simple question. "When you cannot sleep," he said, "what would you say is your job in that moment?" May replied without thinking, "My job is to make myself sleep." The teacher shook his head gently. "That is not a job you can do," he said. "Sleep is like a cat. It comes when it feels safe. It does not come when it is chased. Your real job when you are awake in the night is only this: to create a safe place inside you where sleep would be welcome if it arrived." May frowned. "How do I do that?" she asked. "By resting," the teacher said. "By being kind, by feeling the pillow, by letting your breath be slow. By talking to yourself the way you would talk to a child who cannot sleep, not the way you have been talking to yourself." That night, when she woke again at 2 in the morning, her first thought was the old one: not again. The second thought, new and shaky, was, what if I do not try to sleep? What if I try to rest? She lay on her back and placed one hand on her belly, one hand on her chest. She did not count breaths. She did not force anything. She simply felt the rise and fall under her palms. She whispered inside her mind, "It is all right to be awake. I am here. I am safe. I am allowed to rest even now." For a while, nothing changed. Her mind still wandered. It still worried. But because she was not adding extra anger or shame, the worry slowly lost some of its power. The edges softened. At some point, without noticing when, she slipped back into sleep. The next night, the same pattern came. Wake, tighten, remember, rest. Over time, she could not control when sleep came, but she experienced less suffering around the times when it did not. Her nights were no longer a battlefield. They became more like a long, dark hallway with places to sit down. In another story, there was a man named Tomas who worked long hours and often woke at 4 in the morning, his mind full of problems from work. He used to grab his phone immediately, reading emails, scrolling, trying to distract himself. This made his brain more active. He would lie awake until morning, exhausted and wired. One evening, he listened to a teaching about beginner's mind and the difference between sleep and rest. He decided to try something odd. He told himself, "And if I wake too early, I will practice just being a body in the dark for 10 minutes. No phone, no decisions, just being." The next week, he woke at 4 again. His hand itched to reach for the device. Instead, he took a breath. He remembered his experiment. He lay on his side and placed his attention on 3 points. The sensation of the mattress under his shoulder, the gentle weight of the blanket on his hips, the feeling of air at the tip of his nose. His mind wandered. He brought it back to those 3 things again and again without anger. After a while, he noticed that his body felt less like a tight fist and more like a heavy, warm shape. He did not know when he fell asleep again, only that his alarm surprised him more than usual. Beginner's mind in the night is not about having fancy techniques. It is about dropping the extra story that you are failing when you are awake. It is about seeing that being awake on a safe bed, in a quiet room with your breath moving, is already much gentler than many other kinds of wakefulness you have known. You may remember nights when you were awake because of loud noises, or because someone was ill, or because you were far from home, or because your heart was broken. Compared to those nights, this one may be less harsh, even if it feels uncomfortable. You can tell yourself, "I have known harder nights than this. I have survived them. I can also survive this." In your quiet inner room, you can invite the part of you that panics about sleep to sit down by the wall. You might picture it as a worried friend pacing back and forth. You can say, "Thank you for caring about tomorrow. I know you are trying to protect me right now. The best protection is for both of us to rest." You can sit, you can watch the light, You do not need to shout. If the shouting continues, that is all right. You are still lying down. You are still breathing. You are still practicing. Over time, the worried part will learn that the night is not something it has to fight so hard. Beginner's mind looks at each wakeful moment and says, "This is not proof of my brokenness. This is just what is happening right now. How can I be kind in the middle of this moment?" Sometimes that kindness will look like adjusting your pillow. Sometimes it will look like taking a sip of water. Sometimes it will look like letting out a long sigh. Sometimes it will look like placing a hand on your heart and feeling its beat. These are small actions, but they send a strong message to your nervous system. The message is, we are not in danger. We do not need to be at war with ourselves. When your body receives that message enough times, it begins to trust again. Trusting, it softens. Softening, it becomes easier for sleep to arrive when it can. Tonight, as you lie here, you do not need to promise that you will never worry about sleep again. You do not need to force yourself to drop all fear. You only need to consider this small shift. If sleep is a wild visitor that comes when it feels safe, how can you make this place inside you a little safer, a little gentler, a little more welcoming? You have already started by listening, by breathing, by imagining the quiet room. In the next part of our journey, we will let the words grow lighter and the spaces between them longer, gently guiding you to float on your own breath so that the quiet room inside can hold you even more fully. Whether you notice the moment you finally cross into sleep or simply drift there like a boat on a very calm sea. From the quiet room inside you and from the new way of resting even when sleep has not yet come, our journey now turns toward the oldest, wisest part of you, the part that knew how to sleep long before you ever worried about sleep, long before you knew the word insomnia, long before you learned to criticize yourself for being awake. Your body has been falling asleep since you were a baby. It knows the way. The problem is not that it has forgotten. The problem is that the mind has built fences across the path. Fences made of fear, of stories, of pressure. Tonight we will not try to drag the body into sleep. We will simply help those fences soften so the body can remember what it already knows. Begin once more by feeling the simple weight of yourself where you are. You do not need to move. Just let your attention travel slowly, like a soft light passing through a house at night. Start at your toes. Notice them without judgment. They do not have to feel relaxed yet. They do not have to feel any special way. Just let them come into awareness. If you like, you can imagine them wrapped in warm water or resting on soft sand. With your next exhale, invite them gently to let go of any effort they are still making. Then move to your feet, the soles, the tops, the ankles. These are the parts that have carried your weight all day, even if you mostly sat. They have balanced you, stabilized you, kept you connected to the ground. Silently, you can say thank you to them, not as a ritual, as a simple truth. They have done their job. Now they are allowed to be heavy, to sink into the bed, to be held. Let that heaviness move up into your lower legs, your calves, your shins. Feel the muscles there. Imagine that any tightness in them is like a fist that slowly unclenches as you breathe out. Not forced, not dramatic. Just a small loosening. Knees next. Many people hold more tension in their knees than they realize. Tiny fears of falling. Old injuries. The work of bending and straightening thousands of times. Let your awareness rest there for a breath. As you exhale, imagine your knees being cradled by the mattress, supported from below. They do not have to hold you up now. Your thighs, your hips, the place where your body meets the surface beneath you. This area often carries the weight of the day, physically and emotionally. Sitting, standing, walking, worrying. Notice any sensations there. Warmth, coolness, pressure. If there is discomfort, you do not have to push it away. You can soften around it, the way water softens around a rock in a stream. Tell this whole lower half of your body, you did enough today. You can stop now. Move your attention to your lower back and belly. The belly is a tender place. It responds to stress quickly, tightening, clenching, trying to protect you. Place a hand there if that is comfortable, or just imagine a hand resting there, warm and kind. As you breathe in, feel the gentle rise under that hand. As you breathe out, feel the slight fall. You do not need to deepen the breath. Just let it be easy. Your lower back may have worked hard today, holding you upright, twisting, bending. It could be tired. Imagine that each vertebra there is a stone being laid down on soft earth, one by one. No more holding, no more bracing, just supported. Your chest now, the place where your heart beats, where your lungs expand and contract. You might feel small movements here, perhaps a faster beat, perhaps a slower one, perhaps a sense of tightness, perhaps a sense of openness. Whatever you find, meet it with beginner's mind. Right now it feels like this. Not forever. Not always. Just now. Imagine the quiet room inside your chest, the one you visited earlier. The small light glowing. The figures of your worries sitting around the edges. See if you can rest your awareness in the center of that room for a moment, where the light is. You do not have to see it clearly. You only need to know it is there. A steady point. Let each breath be like a soft breeze that keeps that light gently alive. Move to your shoulders. They often tell the story of your day more honestly than your words. They rise when you are stressed. They hunch when you are afraid. They tighten when you feel responsible for too much. Notice where your shoulders are now. If they are high, invite them with your exhale to drop a little closer to the bed. If they already feel low, simply thank them for lowering. Let the warmth from the small light in your chest flow up into your shoulders, as if someone you trust were standing behind you, placing warm hands there, saying, "You can rest now. You do not have to carry everything tonight." Arms next. Upper arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, hands, fingers. These parts have touched the world all day. They have held objects, typed, swiped, cooked, cleaned, reached out, pulled back. Their muscles might be tight. Their joints might be tired. Let each finger be known for a moment. 10 small companions, all allowed to be still. Imagine that any work they did today is gently flowing out of them, like sand pouring from an open palm. Your neck and throat, these are bridges for words, air, food, emotion. Many unsaid things can sit here like small stones. Notice your throat. You do not have to change how it feels. Just watch. If a swallow comes, let it come. If a sigh comes, let it pass through. As you exhale, imagine a soft widening in that area, like a tight collar being loosened by one button. Now your face, your jaw, your lips, your tongue, your cheeks, your eyes, your forehead, the scalp that covers your skull. Often, even when the body is lying down, the face stays on, as if it is still in front of others. You can give it permission to drop its mask. Let your jaw unclench. Let your lips part slightly if that feels natural. Let your tongue rest heavy and loose. Imagine your eyes sinking deeper into their sockets, not with force, but as if they are lying back on a soft pillow inside your head. Let the small muscles around them relax. Let your forehead smooth as if a warm hand were passing gently over it. If you frown again without noticing, that is all right. Each time you notice, you can soften again. This process is not about forcing relaxation. It is about offering it moment by moment, like a drink of water to a thirsty traveler. Finally, feel your whole body at once, from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, one shape, one field of sensation. Some places softer, some more tense, some warm, some cool. None of it wrong, none of it needing to be completely different before you can rest. You are already resting. You are here, lying down, in the dark or dim light, breathing, listening. This, by itself, is a kind of healing. Beginner's mind looks at this moment and does not compare it to an idea of a perfect night. It does not say, "It should be quieter. I should be asleep already. My body should be more relaxed." It says, "This is the body I have right now. This is the breath I have right now. This is the night I have right now. Can I be with it gently? If fear rises, what if I cannot sleep? You can let your body answer before your thoughts do. Feel the weight of your limbs. Feel the support beneath you. Feel the steady rhythm of in and out. Your body is not worried. It is doing what it always does at night. It lies down. It cools. It slows. It waits. When the mind becomes less aggressive, the body's natural rhythm has room to carry you downward, like a slow, wide river. You do not need to dive. You only need to stop struggling against the current. In the quiet room inside, the small light keeps glowing. Around it, your worries may still sit. They may whisper now and then, but they are not as loud as they were. The characters from our stories are there too, resting after their own days. The scholar has put down his books. Aiko has put away her tools. Koji has stopped answering questions. Ren's wheel is still. Hana's clippers are hanging on a hook. The children have gone home from the temple yard. The fisherman has tied his boat, all of them lying in their own beds, in their own ways, breathing in their own chests, under their own pieces of sky. And you, who have carried them in your mind, are lying here too, under this piece of sky, in this one body with this one breath. You are not separate from them. You are one more human being learning to meet the night with a softer heart. In the next part of our journey, the words will begin to thin out even more. The spaces between them will grow wider. We will let the stories fade into the background and lean more fully into silence, so that your own breath, your own body, and your own quiet room can do what they know how to do, carrying you gently toward deep, healing sleep. From the warm heaviness of your body, from the small light in the quiet room inside you, our journey now comes to the softest border of all. The border between waking and sleep. You have walked a long way tonight. Through stories of old teachers and simple workers, through cups and rivers, clay and wildflowers, laughter and sea wind, through your own memories, through your own thoughts. You do not need to walk any further now. This is the place where you are allowed to float. The edge between wakefulness and sleep is like a shoreline at night. On one side, the land of thinking. On the other, the dark sea of dreams and deep rest. You are lying down right where the waves touch the sand. They come in. They go out. Sometimes they reach a little further. Sometimes they fall back. There is no sudden line where one world ends and the other begins. Your job is not to push yourself into the sea. It is only to lie here on the sand and let the water come to you in its own time. Notice how your breath already behaves like those waves. It moves in without effort. It moves out without effort. You do not have to pull it. You do not have to push it. You can trust it. In, out, in, out. If thoughts appear, they are like pieces of driftwood floating near the shore. They might bump against you for a moment and then they are carried away. You do not have to grab each one and examine it. If one is important, it will come back in the daylight. The night is not the time to solve. The night is the time to soften. You may notice that your mind is already starting to do strange things. A thought that begins clearly may drift into an image. A word may turn into a picture. A memory may change into something that never happened. This is not a problem. This is the early mist of dreams forming. The doorway is already opening. You do not need to keep it straight. You can let it be as it is. Beginner's mind here means allowing the in-between state to be confusing without being frightening. There is a Japanese word, makura no soko, which means the bottom of the pillow. It suggests a deep resting place, a place beneath speech, beneath plans, beneath even conscious thought. You are moving toward that place now, not diving, just slowly sinking like a stone dropped into still water, falling through layers from light to dark. Imagine again that little boat from earlier journeys. Not on a stormy sea now, but on a quiet lake under a dark sky. You are lying in the boat on your back, looking up. You can barely see the outline of your own body. The world is very simple here. The shape of the boat, the cool air on your face, the faint rocking motion as the water moves. The shore is far enough that all the sharp edges of its shapes have melted into darkness. Above you, the sky is wide. Maybe there are stars, maybe there are clouds, maybe there is only a soft, dark blanket. You do not need to see it clearly. You only need to feel that space above you, stretching without end. Your thoughts are like small birds crossing that sky. They appear from one edge, fly across, then disappear at the other side. Some fly in flocks, some fly alone, some move quickly, some are slow. You are not the birds. You are the one lying in the boat, watching, not needing to follow. With each breath, the boat feels a little heavier on the water. Not in a sinking way, in a safe way. The wood rests more deeply against the surface. The line between boat and lake blurs. In the same way, with each breath, your body rests more deeply on the bed. The line between you and the mattress blurs. It holds you like water holds a leaf. You do not need to keep yourself here. Gravity is doing that for you. You can let go. Somewhere far away, the day you lived still exists. The conversations, the tasks, the mistakes, the victories. They are like lights in a town seen from this lake at night, distant, small. You know they are there, but they do not reach you now. Between you and them lies this dark water, this soft air, this friendly quiet. If your mind tries to replay a scene from the day, you can imagine it playing out on the shore. People talking, you talking, events unfolding. You do not have to run back there. You can watch from your boat if you like, or you can simply let a gentle fog roll in, covering the shore completely. For now, you have permission to not be in that story. Not as the main character, not even as a background figure. For now, you are just a body resting on water, in darkness, breathing. If a stronger wave of worry suddenly rises like a gust of wind on the lake, you might feel your heart speed up. Your muscles might tighten for a moment. This too is all right. Beginner's mind does not panic at the appearance of a gust. It notices, ah, here is fear. Then it returns to the simple anchors, the weight of your heels, the warmth around your chest, the feeling of air at your nostrils, the sound of my voice growing softer, more distant, like someone speaking on the shore while you drift further away. Remember that you do not need to notice the exact moment you fall asleep. There is no test, no bell that rings. One moment you are aware of your breath. The next you are somewhere else entirely, walking through a dream or resting in deep, blank peace. The mind sometimes wants to hover at the doorway, asking, is it happening yet? Am I asleep now? Each time it asks, it pulls you slightly back toward waking. You can smile at that habit inside you and answer, you do not need to check. It will happen when it happens. You can rest too. Let even the part of you that watches the process grow sleepy. Let it yawn. Let it forget its own job. Your body will not stop breathing without that watcher. It has been breathing since long before any watcher appeared. It will keep breathing long after the watcher has fallen into dreams. If you find yourself drifting, catching only pieces of phrases, coming back and then fading away, That is not a problem. That is exactly what this part of the journey is meant to do. The words are not here to be remembered. They are here like the steady rocking of the boat, a pattern, a rhythm that the nervous system can lean on until it trusts the water completely and lets go. Your eyes, if they are not closed, can close now. If they are already closed, you might imagine them closing even more deeply on the inside, as if a second set of eyelids were gently covering your mind's eyes. Sound becomes softer. The space inside your head feels wider. Thoughts float in that space like dust motes in a beam of light. Slowly that beam fades. Only the warm darkness remains. You have nothing left to do. You have nowhere left to go. There is no one you have to be right now. Not a student, not a worker, not a parent, not a partner, not a seeker, not even a meditator, just a human being who has walked all the way to the edge of this day and now lies down. The earth holds you from below. The night holds you from above. The quiet room inside holds you at the center. The small light there keeps burning, but you no longer have to keep watch over it. It can burn in the background, like a star behind passing clouds. You can let yourself fade. If pieces of dream begin to form at the edges of your awareness, let them come. Do not pull them closer. Do not push them away. They are like gentle hands reaching out from the sea, inviting you into deeper water. You can let them take you. If even now you are still quite awake, that is also all right. You are still on the boat. You are still on the lake. You are still breathing. You are not doing anything wrong. You are practicing the art of resting on the edge. Each night you practice, it becomes a little less frightening, a little more familiar. Like a path walked many times that begins to feel like home. The stories have done their work. The teachings have found places to settle. The beginner's mind in you has been gently awakened. Now you can let everything else grow quiet. Let the words fade into a soft murmur. Let the spaces between them grow longer. Let your breath carry you wave after wave further and further from the shore of this day, out into the wide, dark, peaceful sea of sleep. From this quiet shoreline between waking and dreams, there is one more part of the night we need to meet with a gentle beginner's mind. It is a part many people know well. You fall asleep for a while. You drift off, carried by the dark. And then suddenly you wake up again. It might be after 1 hour or 3 or just a few minutes that feel long. The room is still dim. The world is still quiet, but your mind has clicked back on like a lamp that was not invited. In that moment, it is easy to panic. Old thoughts rush in. Here we go again. I knew it was too good to last. Now the night is ruined. The heart beats faster. Muscles tighten. The body, which was slowly repairing itself, now prepares for a fight. Tonight we will practice another way to meet this second opening of the night. Not as a failure, not as a punishment, but as another moment to be held, another wave on the same sea. Imagine that some time has passed since the last words you heard. Maybe you did fall asleep. Maybe you hovered near it. Either way, now you find yourself awake. Your eyes open or they remain closed, but your thoughts are vivid. The first thing is to notice the story that tries to leap up. It will likely be quick. Why? Not again? What time is it? Your hand may move toward the clock. The numbers there can sometimes act like small knives, cutting into your trust. If you can, just for one night, experiment with not looking. Time is still passing whether you see the numbers or not. You are still here in the dark. The bed is still under you. Your breath is still moving. These are the things that matter most right now. You can greet this wakefulness the way you might greet a child who has come into your room after a bad dream. You would not shout at them, "Why are you awake? You are ruining everything." You would say, "Oh, you are here. Come, it is all right. Lie down. We can rest." Try speaking to yourself in that same tone. In your mind, you might say, "Oh, hello, wakefulness. You have come again. I do not love you, but I do not have to fear you either. Come lie down with me. We will rest together." Feel the simple contact between your body and the bed, your heel touching the sheet, your shoulder touching the mattress, the way your head is held by the pillow. These are the same sensations that were there a moment before you woke, and they did not disappear. They are steady. They are kind. Let your mind lean into them the way a tired person leans against a wall. If thoughts about tomorrow rush in, you can bow to them once, the way you might greet a distant acquaintance and then return to the room you are actually in. The actual air, the actual darkness, the actual sound of your own breath. Beginner's mind here means you do not assume this wakefulness will be exactly like the last one. The mind likes to say, "Every time I wake at this hour, I stay awake for hours." But that is a story, not a law. It may have been true on some nights. It is not the same night now. Your body is not exactly the same. Your nervous system has been learning. Even as you listen, you can say softly, "I do not know what will happen next. I only know I am awake right now in this moment. I will be kind in this moment." There was once a man named Yori who often woke in the middle of the night. He would lie there tense, counting the hours until his alarm. One night, his teacher suggested that when he woke, he treat that time as a small retreat instead of a failure. "A retreat?" Yori asked. "In the middle of the night?" "Yes," the teacher said. "You do not have to sit up. You do not have to light a candle. You do not have to do anything formal. Just decide that for these minutes, however many they are, your only job is to breathe and to be gentle with yourself. If sleep comes back, wonderful. If it does not, you still have not wasted the time because you have used it to practice kindness." The next night, when Yori woke at 3 in the morning, his reflex was to groan. Then he remembered. "Retreat," he whispered inside. The word felt strange. It carried a different energy than problem. He lay on his back and let his breath be his anchor. In, out. He noticed the urge to check the time. He noticed the urge to predict the next day's tiredness. Each time he said, "Not my job right now. My only job is this breath." Some nights, sleep returned quickly. Some nights it did not. But slowly he stopped dreading the possibility of waking. It no longer meant guaranteed torment. It meant another chance to sit in his inner quiet room, to meet himself with less violence. In your own way, you can try this. You do not need a special word. You can simply choose a simple sentence to greet the wakefulness. "This is my resting time." Or, "This is a small island in the night where I can be kind." Let that sentence sit in your chest, near the small light in your quiet room. Notice how that light has not gone out, even though your awareness has shifted. It is still there, steady and patient. The worries you placed in chairs around the room may start talking again. That is all right. You do not have to silence them. You can listen as if you were listening to children in the next room. You hear the sounds, you know they are there, but you do not rush in unless there is real danger. Most of the time, they will talk themselves tired. If your body feels unsettled, you can repeat the slow scan you did earlier, but even more lightly. Not a long tour, just 3 or 4 stops. Maybe your hands, your chest, your feet. You can imagine your breath flowing between these points like a gentle tide. In your hands as you breathe in, in your chest as you breathe out, down in your feet with the next inhale, back to your chest with the next exhale. You are not trying to knock yourself out. You are just giving your mind something simple and kind to follow. Somewhere beyond the walls of your room, others are awake too. A nurse walking down a quiet hospital corridor, a parent feeding a newborn child, a traveler in an airport, a guard in a small booth, a monk in a distant country sitting in meditation. You are not the only person awake in the night, even if it feels that way. In a strange, soft way, you are part of a quiet community of wakeful beings under the same sky. If you like, you can imagine them for a moment, not in detail, just small points of light in the dark scattered across the world, each one breathing, each one dealing with their own thoughts and feelings, each one doing their best. You can silently wish them well. May you be safe, may you rest, may you find peace. This wish is not magic, it does not solve their lives, but it opens your own heart. It moves your attention away from the tight circle of me and my problem and lets it flow outward. Often when we soften toward others, something in us softens toward ourselves without effort. Then, as you feel ready, bring that same wish back to your own body. May I be safe. May I rest. May I find peace. You are not demanding sleep. You are inviting peace. Sleep can grow more easily in that soil. If waves of frustration still appear, that is all right. They are old habits, not your true nature. A beginner's mind looks at them and says, "Ah, you again, I know you. You have visited many nights. You are allowed to pass through, but you do not define me." Let them pass like wind that shakes the branches of a tree. The tree does not chase the wind. It bends, then returns. You are that tree. Your breath is its trunk. The thoughts are only wind. The more you practice meeting the second opening of the night this way, the more your nervous system will learn that waking up is not a disaster. It is just a moment you know how to hold. And when the fear softens even a little, the door to sleep swings more freely on its hinges. You may drift off again without noticing, or you may stay gently awake and still be resting. Either way, you have not failed. You have walked the path of kindness through another part of the night. In the next part of our journey, we will let the teachings fade even further into the background and lean more fully into silence so that your own body's wisdom can rise. We will remember that every night ends, every dawn comes, and that you are always allowed to begin again no matter how this one has gone. You have walked very far to arrive here, through temples and rivers, workshops and gardens, quiet rooms and restless nights. You have listened to many voices, old teachers, simple workers, children at play, worried minds learning to say, "I don't know." Each one has been like a small lantern placed along a dark path. Now, as we come to the end of this journey, you do not need more lanterns. You do not need more ideas. You only need a gentle blessing, something simple that can rest in your chest and travel with you into sleep, and then into morning, and then into the ordinary days that wait beyond this night. Take a slow breath in. Let it move all the way down into your belly. Then let it go, long and easy. Feel how your body settles just a little more. The bed holds you. The night holds the bed. The earth holds the night. You do not have to hold anything right now. This is the blessing I offer from beginner's mind to your tired heart. May you remember that you do not have to be full to be worthy. Like the scholar's cup, you are allowed to be partly empty. You are allowed to not know. You are allowed to lay your clever explanations down and taste one sip of simple tea, one breath of simple air, one moment of simple rest. May you look again at what you think you already know, the room you sleep in, the faces you see, the path you walk, the work you do, the thoughts that come. May you sometimes remember Aiko's wooden box and Hana's wildflowers and Lena's river and Isamu's sea, and whisper to yourself, "Even this is new. Even this has never been exactly like this before." Not to force wonder, but to loosen the dull story that says, "My life is only repetition." There are small miracles sitting quietly inside your routines waiting to be noticed. May you find the courage to say, "I don't know," when you do not know. to others, to life, to yourself, not as a collapse but as a doorway, not as a weakness but as a clearing where fresh understanding can grow. May Koji's honesty, Sora's honesty, Haru's honesty remind you that pretending to know everything is a heavy mask to hold up. You are allowed to put it down, especially at night. You are allowed to whisper into the dark, I don't know how tomorrow will go. I don't know how long this will last. I don't know how I will change. And that is all right for this moment. May your judgment soften into curiosity about your own body, about your own heart, about other people, about the parts of yourself you do not like. When the old voices arise, I am too much, I am not enough, this is wrong, that is ruined. May another quieter voice remember Ren and his leaning bowls and Mina with her playful clay. May it ask, what is really happening here? What can this mistake show me? How can I be interested instead of cruel? Curiosity does not erase pain, but it opens a window in a closed room. Fresh air enters. That is often enough to change everything. May the childlike part of you feel welcome again, the part that laughs at small things, the part that sees shapes in clouds and listens to the song of a kettle, the part that once drew strange pictures without worrying if they were good. You do not have to become childish to honor that part. You do not have to ignore your grown-up duties, but you can now and then be like Rio catching the ball over the temple wall, like Aya painting in wild colors for one sacred hour, like Kenji placing a single flower in the room and letting it be enough. Seriousness without joy becomes heavy. Wisdom without play becomes brittle. May you have both. May you feel even faintly the truth that every moment is a first moment, that there is no real again. There is only this time, this breath, this night, this thought rising and falling, this version of you shaped by every joy and every pain you have ever touched and still changing. When your mind says, here we go again, may another part of you quietly answer, no, here we go, this time. And in that tiny shift, may a bit of light enter. May you carry beginner's mind into the small corners of your day, into the way you wash a cup, into the way you open a door, into the way you say someone's name, into the way you speak to yourself when you are tired or afraid, not as a big project, just as a soft question that appears now and then. What if I am meeting this for the first time? Because you are. May you remember on the nights when sleep does not come quickly that you are not a broken machine. You are a living creature with a nervous system doing its best. You are allowed to rest even while awake, to feel the weight of your body, to follow your breath, to sit in your quiet inner room and let your worries move to the edges, to say, for this hour my only job is to be kind. Sleep is more likely to visit when it is not being hunted. May you treat your own wakefulness as you would a child who cannot sleep, with patience, with warmth, with a steady voice that says, I am here, you are safe, we can rest together. May morning become, little by little, less of a verdict and more of a greeting. May you meet your face in the mirror with a softer gaze. May you learn to say, I am here, before you say, I am behind. Inodem, may you plan your effort as waves instead of demanding that every hour be high tide. On the tired days, may you find small places to sit down inside your day. On the clear days, may you enjoy your clarity without fearing its end. May you know that beginning again is always allowed, not only at New Year, not only after big events, but on an ordinary Tuesday at 3 in the afternoon in the middle of washing your hands or taking a step or noticing your breath. Each moment is a gate that does not need to be opened because it has no lock. You walk through it simply by noticing that you are already standing there. May you feel in some tender corner of yourself that you are not walking this path alone. All the people from our stories are walking with you. So are countless others you will never meet. The nurse in the hallway, the parent in the rocking chair, the student at the desk, the worker on the late train, the elderly person awake in a quiet room. Each one is learning in their own way to soften in the dark. In this, you belong to a wide, invisible community of human hearts under the same changing sky. And now, most of all, may you rest. May your body trust the bed. May your breath flow like a slow, kind river. May the quiet room inside you feel a little more familiar each time you visit it. May your worries sit further from the center as the small light of your simple aliveness keeps burning. You do not have to watch it. You do not have to guard it. You can let go. You have done enough for today. You have thought enough. You have tried enough. You have listened enough. Nothing more is required. Let the stories sink down into the soft ground of your mind. Let the words blur and scatter. Let the spaces between thoughts grow wider. If dreams come, may they be gentle. If blankness comes, may it be deep. If wakefulness lingers, may it be kinder than before. In every case, may you remember that you are always free to begin again. With one breath, with one small act of attention, with one quiet decision to treat yourself less like an enemy and more like a friend. Tonight, as you lie here, you are enough. Not someday, not after you fix yourself. Now, exactly as you are in this imperfect body with this imperfect mind on this imperfect night under this piece of sky. May peace find you. May rest hold you. May sleep come when it is ready, like a gentle tide rising around a tired boat, lifting it silently, carrying it out into the wide, dark, healing sea of the night. By now, something in you has already begun to loosen. Maybe it is only a little. A small softening at the edge of your thoughts. A slight heaviness in your limbs. A gentler rhythm in your breath. It does not need to be more than that. Change in the night is like change in the sky. It rarely happens all at once. Clouds drift, light shifts, the air cools degree by degree. In the same way, you are slowly being carried from the busy shore of this day into the wider, quieter water of the night. You do not have to steer. You do not have to row. You are allowed to float. Imagine, if you like, that the quiet room inside your chest has grown larger. It is no longer just a small space tucked behind your ribs. It has widened until it fills your whole body. Your head, your neck, your shoulders, your chest, your belly, your hips, your legs, your feet. All of it is one soft, dim room now. In this room, the floor is your breath, slow, gentle, supporting you from below, rise after rise, fall after fall. The walls are made of simple awareness, not sharp, not bright, just enough to know that you are here, lying down, breathing. The ceiling is made of the night itself, dark, vast, quiet. In this room there is nothing you need to achieve, no meditation to master, no perfect calm to reach. If your thoughts are still active, they are like people leaving a theater after the last show. They murmur, they shuffle, they move toward the exits. You do not need to shout at them to hurry. You do not need to organize them. They will find their own way out as the night deepens. You can sit in the back row watching them go, knowing that the room will be empty soon enough. Feel again the simple weight of your body, heavy where it touches the bed, lighter where it meets the air. This heaviness is not your enemy. It is gravity holding you like a hand on your back saying, you do not have to go anywhere, you can stay. The bed is not a place you must earn, it is a place that is already offered. If your mind still wants to wander through worries, you can give it a very small task, not a hard one, not a clever one, something almost too simple. For a while, as you breathe, you can silently pair a word or two with each breath. Breathing in, here. Breathing out, now. In, here. Out, now. Or perhaps in, soft, out, down, in, soft, out, down. Not as a spell, not as a rule, just as a gentle rope for the mind to hold while the body floats. If you lose the words, that is fine. If you forget what you were saying, that is fine. Forgetting is a sign that you are drifting. And drifting is exactly what you are allowed to do. The characters you met tonight are very quiet now. The scholar has fallen asleep over his books. The carpenter has put her tools away and lies listening to the wind in the beams above her. Koji, who once needed to know everything, has allowed himself to say, even to his own dreams, "I don't know what you will show me tonight, and that is all right." Ren's hands are still, a trace of clay under his nails, his breathing deep and slow. Hana's garden rests in darkness, wildflowers folded. Aya's paints dry on the palette while she sleeps, a faint smudge of color on her wrist. Daiichi's broom stands in the corner. Lena's bus is parked in an empty lot. Isamu's boat is tied to the dock, rocking gently as the tide moves. Each one is held by the same night that holds you now. You have carried them in your imagination. They now keep you company in return, not with voices, but with the simple reminder that all human hearts grow tired, and all human hearts deserve rest. There is nothing strange about your wish to sleep. It is not selfish. It is not weak. It is as natural as a tree leaning toward light or a river flowing downhill. Your body wants to sink into the deep, slow rhythm where repair happens quietly, where cells mend, where the mind rearranges its memories, where the heart can sigh without words. You do not have to direct that process. You do not have to understand it. You only have to get out of its way. Think of your thoughts now as a flock of small birds settling into a tree at dusk. At first, they are noisy. They flutter from branch to branch. They jostle. They call to each other. Then slowly, one by one, they find their spots. The calls grow softer, wings fold, heads tuck under feathers. The tree does not command them, it simply stands and night does the rest. You are that tree. Your thoughts are the birds. Night is already working. You might notice small gaps between thoughts now. Little pockets of nothing. You catch a phrase and then there is a moment where you do not quite know what you were thinking about. Those are openings. Tiny windows into the deeper dark where sleep waits. You do not need to force them wider. You only need to allow them, to not immediately fill them with new worry. If you like images, you can picture yourself lying at the bottom of a shallow pool. The water above you is clear and still. You can breathe easily here because this is not a real pool. It is a pool made of quiet. Sounds from the world above reach you, but they are softened by the water. Distant, gentle. Your thoughts are like small ripples on the surface. From down here, you can watch them without being moved. They appear. They spread. They dissolve. Light filters down in faint patterns. You do not have to reach for it. You only rest on the smooth ground, held by the water on all sides. If that image does not appeal, let it go. There is nothing you must hold on to. Not one image. Not one story. You can even let go of the idea of practice. At some point, even these gentle tools can be set down, the way a craftsman sets down their tools when the work is done. The rest belongs to the silence. If you notice yourself trying very hard, see if you can do a little less. If you notice yourself concentrating tightly, see if you can let your focus blur, the way your eyes blur when you stare at the clouds. You are not in charge of this last part, and that is good. Your most ancient wordless self is in charge now. The part of you that makes a cut heal, the part that made you grow from a child to who you are now without your instructions. The part that beat your heart while you were distracted. Trust that part. It knows the path down. If you wake later, you already know what to do. You will not be meeting a stranger. You will be returning to a room you have visited many times in this journey. But for now there is nothing further to prepare. The night around you is deep and kind. The bed under you is steady. Your breath is slow and faithful. Your body is heavier with each exhale. Your mind is softer with each pause. Let yourself float. Let the words fade into a dim and distant echo. Let silence grow thicker around you like a warm, dark blanket. The stories are over. The teachings are complete for tonight. All that remains is this gentle falling, this slow drifting, this quiet acceptance that you are allowed to stop. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to disappear into sleep for a while and let the world take care of itself. By now, your body and the night are speaking a language that does not need many words. My voice is only a faint thread woven through a much larger fabric of silence, breath, and darkness. You do not have to follow every sentence. You do not have to remember what came before or care about what comes next. This part of the journey belongs more to your deeper self than to your thinking mind. Let that deeper self slowly take the lead. Feel again very simply that you are lying down, not in a story, not in a problem, just in space. There is a surface beneath you. It holds your weight. It does not complain. It does not ask you to do better. The fabric under your body accepts every curve, every angle, every bit of heaviness. In the same way, this moment accepts you as you are. Tired or restless, calm or uneasy, sleepy or still wide awake. You do not have to adjust yourself to fit some perfect picture of ready to sleep. You are already here. That is enough. Imagine that the quiet room inside your chest opens even wider now and spills out into the space around you. Your bed is inside that room. The walls of your actual room are inside it. The ceiling, the floor, the faint sounds in the distance, they are all held inside this larger, softer space. It is as if the inside and the outside have begun to dissolve into each other. There is just one field of quiet, with you resting gently in the middle. Thoughts may still move at the edges of this field. Old phrases, small worries, bits of songs, fragments of images, they are like fireflies at the far edge of a night meadow. They blink. They disappear. They blink again somewhere else. You do not have to chase them. The meadow is still the meadow, whether the fireflies are lit or not. See if you can sense the way your breath has its own wisdom. It has been slowly adjusting itself all this time without needing your control. It may be shallower now, it may be deeper, it may have long pauses, it may be soft and light. However it is, your body has chosen that rhythm because it fits what you need in this exact moment. Beginner's mind does not argue with this. It does not say, the breath should be longer, or I should be more relaxed by now. It says, this is how my breath is now, I will trust it. If you like, you can picture your breath as a tide moving in a very wide, dark bay. Each inhale is a small wave coming in, washing softly up the shore of your body. Each exhale is the wave drawing back, leaving the sand even smoother than before. With every cycle, more tension is carried away. Not in a dramatic rush, but in tiny, repeated movements, the way cliffs are shaped by water over many years. You do not have to check whether you are falling asleep. That job is heavy and thankless. You can hand it to the night itself. Let the night be the watcher. Let the night decide when to close your eyes more deeply, when to soften your thoughts into dreams, when to lower you into blank rest. Your part is simple now. Lie here. Breathe. Allow. If you notice a thought that says, I am still awake, answer it as gently as you would answer a small child tugging at your sleeve. Yes, you can say inwardly, you are still awake right now, and we are still resting. We are still safe. We are still allowed to be here. Do not try to convince the thought to go away. Just give it a soft seat at the edge of the room and let it grow bored. Imagine for a moment that the whole world has become very quiet. Somewhere far away there are still cars, conversations, footfalls, machines. but their sounds have been turned down as if a great hand has slowly lowered a volume knob. What remains closest to you are the smallest things. The faint sound of your own breathing, the soft rustle of fabric when you shift a little. Maybe a distant hum or a single far-off sound that comes and goes, all of it blended together into a gentle background. Nothing sharp, nothing demanding. You can also imagine that your thoughts themselves are getting quieter, not by force but by distance, as if each thought that appears is happening farther away than the last. A worry about tomorrow might appear at the edge of your mind, but when you look at it, it seems to be happening on the other side of a wide river. You can see its shape. You can recognize it, but you cannot hear it clearly. The water between you and it muffles everything. You do not have to cross that river tonight. You can let the thought stay on its own shore. In the quiet room inside, the little light that represents your simple aliveness is still glowing. You may not feel it strongly, and that is fine. Its job is not to impress you. It is to stay, to be there whether you notice it or not. It is like a small lamp left on in a house so that when someone returns in the dark, they are not lost. Even when you are asleep, that light continues to burn. It is the part of you that never completely sleeps, the steady pulse of life that keeps watch while the rest of you lets go. As you sink further into this quiet, you might find that your sense of me becomes softer around the edges, less like a sharp outline and more like a warm blur. Your body is here, but it feels less separate from the bed. Your thoughts are here, but they feel less separate from the night. The room is here, but it feels less separate from the larger darkness beyond its walls. All of it together is one slow, breathing presence, if dream images are already starting to form. Strange places, unexpected faces, bits of story that make no sense. You can let them come and go without grabbing onto them. They are like clouds drifting across an inner sky. You are not the cloud. You are the sky that lets them pass. If, on the other hand, your mind is still mostly clear, you can rest in that clarity without making it into a problem. Some nights the path into sleep is wide and obvious. Some nights it is more like a narrow trail you follow step by soft step. Either way, the direction is the same, toward deeper rest, toward a slower rhythm, toward a kind of forgetting that heals. You do not have to help the forgetting. The body will do it. It will slowly loosen its grip on the details of the day. Names will fade, times will blur. The shape of events will soften. What remains is just a gentle impression, like footprints on a beach after the tide has washed in and out a few times. The lines are not as sharp. The story is not as loud. Right now, in this very moment, nothing is being asked of you except to exist. Not to improve. Not to fix, not to decide, not to perform, just to exist. A living being lying still in the dark, breathing, that is all. And that is already worthy of care. Let your next few breaths be as lazy as they want to be. No effort, no control. Notice how, even when you are not paying attention, the breath keeps coming. Your heart keeps beating. Your body keeps resting. Life keeps happening. You are being carried by something much larger than your worry. If there is still a small, tense part of you that is trying to stay in control, trying to monitor, to predict, to guard, you can picture that part as a tired guardian sitting on a chair in the corner of your inner room. You can walk over in your mind, place a soft blanket around its shoulders and say, "Thank you. You have done enough." You can sleep too. Nothing will fall apart if you close your eyes. Then you can watch as even that guardian's head nods forward, their breathing slows, and they too drift away. Soon there will be nothing left to watch, just the gentle motion of breath, just the weight of your body, just the warm, dark silence deepening around you, like night falling within night. When that happens, you may not notice the last words I say. They will become part of the background like wind in distant trees. That is how it is meant to be. You are very close now to the center of the night, the place where time becomes soft and the mind loosens its grip on itself. Let yourself sink the rest of the way at your own pace, like a leaf slowly spiraling down through still air, like a feather drifting onto calm water, like a tired heart finally remembering that it is safe to rest. Nothing more to learn, nothing more to do. Just this breath, this body, this gentle falling into boundless quiet. By now, you and the night know each other a little better. You have walked together through stories and teachings, through fear and softness, through wakefulness and the slow, heavy drift towards sleep. What remains now is very simple. You do not need more images. You do not need more instructions. You only need a gentle reminder that from this point on, you are completely allowed to let go. Imagine once more that you are lying in the center of a wide, dark field. There are no walls here, no ceilings, no corners. The ground beneath you is soft and steady, like earth covered in moss. Above you, the sky is endless, a quiet ocean of dark. You do not have to see it. You only have to feel its vastness. You are very small here and at the same time completely safe, as if the whole field exists just to give you a place to rest. Your body is like a stone placed carefully on the ground. It does not have to move. It does not have to shine. It does not have to do any tricks. Its only job is to lie there and be exactly what it is. Heavy, warm, quieting, breath by breath. Your thoughts have become thinner now, like mist that is almost burned away. A memory passes. It fades. A half-dream image appears. It dissolves. A sentence begins and never finishes. All of this is perfectly fine. This is what the edge of deep sleep often feels like. Not clean, not clear. A little strange, a little soft. Beginner's mind accepts this without trying to straighten it out. It does not say, I must hold on. It says, I can let go even of understanding. Feel how each exhale is like a small surrender. Inhale, you gather a bit of life. Exhale, you hand yourself over to the dark a little more. Inhale, the world touches you. Exhale, you fall back into the quiet room at your center. There is nothing wrong with you for needing this. Every creature that lives under the sky, from the smallest bird to the largest tree, moves through cycles of activity and rest. You are not a mistake. You are part of that same rhythm. Somewhere far away, night is thinning at the edges. On the other side of the planet, someone is waking up while you are falling asleep. In another time zone, someone is eating lunch. Somewhere else, rain is falling loudly, or traffic is roaring, or music is playing. But here, in this one small point on the turning earth, in this one small body, it is dark, it is quiet, it is time to go inward. The world does not need you right now. It will manage without your constant attention. Emails can wait, decisions can wait, self-improvement can wait, even your spiritual practice can wait. Sleep itself can come when it likes. In this last stretch, your only task is not even a task, it is permission. You give yourself permission to vanish for a while, to stop being you, with your name and your history and your roles, and to become only breath and warmth and darkness. You have given so much to this day. You have held so many thoughts, you have carried so many feelings, you have done your best in ways seen and unseen. Now let the night give something back. Let it hold you the way deep water holds a stone. Steady, silent, complete. If you wake later, you know how to meet that moment with kindness. If morning comes next, you know how to greet it with a softer heart. You do not have to plan that from here. The seeds are already planted. Your only concern now is this breath, and then the next, and then the next, until even the act of noticing the breath fades away and there is only the slow tide of sleep moving in and out of you on its own. Let my voice drift to the far edge of your awareness, like a sound from another room. Let the last bits of daylight memory sink down to the bottom of your mind, where they will rest until tomorrow. Let your muscles forget how to hold you up. Let your jaw forget how to speak. Let your thoughts forget how to stay sharp. You are safe. You are held. You are allowed to stop. If any part of you still asks for permission, here it is. You may rest now. You may go. You may disappear into sleep and leave this day behind. When you return, the world will be waiting. The light will be waiting. The next breath, the next step, the next small chance to begin again will be waiting. But for now, everything can be set down. Everything. Let go. Sink. Drift. Vanish into the deep, healing dark. If you are still hearing these words, even faintly, it means some small part of you is still awake at the edge of the dark. Other parts may already be gone, walking in dreams or resting in deep, blank quiet. That is exactly how it should be. This last part is not here to add more effort. It is here like a soft hand on your shoulder, a gentle reminder of something simple and important. No matter how your days or nights have gone, you are always allowed to begin again. Not next month, not next year, not after you become a different person. Now, and now, and now. Beginner's mind is not a trick you learn once and then keep perfectly. It is a way of returning. Returning to your breath after being lost in thought. Returning to your body after floating in worry. Returning to this moment after living in stories about yesterday and tomorrow. You have already practiced this many times tonight without naming it. Each time you noticed your body on the bed. Each time you felt your breath. Each time you let a thought pass instead of chasing it. Each time you met yourself with a little more gentleness. All of that was beginning again. You may forget most of the images and stories from this journey. The scholar and his cup. Aiko and her wooden box. Koji saying, "I don't know." Ren's leaning bowls. Hana's wildflowers. Rio catching the ball. Aya painting like a child. Daiichi sweeping new dust. Lena and her river. Isamu on the changing sea. May learning to rest even while awake. Thomas lying in the dark without his phone. Kiko writing kinder sentences in her journal. Yori turning midnight into a small retreat. You do not need to keep them all in your head. They were never meant to be trophies. They were bridges to your own life. What matters is not that you remember their names. What matters is that some of their courage and softness and honesty has touched something in you. That touch remains even if the details fade. In the days ahead, you will forget yourself again. Of course you will. You will rush. You will worry. You will judge. You will get lost in old patterns. You will wake in the night and feel the familiar surge of fear. Beginner's mind does not promise that this will never happen. It does not turn you into a perfect calm machine. It simply puts a small lantern in your hand so that when you notice where you are, you can see a path back. That path is always simple. It is never far. It might be one breath, just one, in, out, felt all the way through. It might be one small act of noticing, the feeling of your feet on the floor, the taste of one bite of food, the sound of someone's voice, the color of the sky when you happen to look up. It might be one gentler sentence spoken inside your own mind. Not, "I am a disaster," but "this is hard and I am doing what I can." Not, "here we go again, same old life, dudum," but "this moment too has never existed before." Not, "I should be better by now, but I am learning even if I cannot always see it." Tiny shifts, each one a new beginning. You might think that such small things cannot change much. But a big ship changes course by the smallest turn of the wheel. A river changes shape grain by grain. A forest grows one seed at a time. Your nervous system has been learning all along while you listen tonight. It has felt what it is like to be spoken to with kindness instead of attack. It has sampled what it is like to rest even while awake. It has tasted what it is like to loosen the idea that you must control everything, including sleep. That learning does not vanish when the audio ends. It stays in you like a quiet imprint, a new possibility. The next time you stand at a sink or sit on a bus or lie awake in the dark, that possibility will be there in the background, like a door you did not know existed before. You may still walk past it many times. That is all right. One day, for reasons you may never fully understand, you will notice it and gently turn the handle. That turning is beginner's mind. That is enough. As for your nights, remember this. They do not need to become perfect for you to live a good, meaningful, loving life. Many wise, kind, strong-hearted people have had restless nights. What changed their lives was not the number of hours they slept. It was the way they treated themselves in the middle of their struggle. You can begin that same change simply by refusing to be your own enemy when the lights go out. By speaking to yourself as you would speak to someone you truly care about. By letting the bed be a place of mercy, not a courtroom. When you wake in some future dawn, whether rested or tired, remember that the morning is not a verdict on your worth. It is one more beginning. You will open your eyes. You will take one breath. And in that breath, you will have a choice. Not a huge one. Not, how will I fix my entire life today? Just, how will I take this first step, gently or harshly, with a clenched jaw or with a little softness? Beginner's mind is the part of you that chooses softness a little more often. The part that is willing to see yourself and others as new, even when history is long. The part that knows you can always adjust your course, even after years of walking in a certain direction. You do not need to make any vows tonight. You do not need to promise to be mindful every moment from now on. That is just another heavy burden. Instead, you can let this whole journey settle into a single quiet readiness. The readiness to remember now and then that you are allowed to put down what you are carrying and simply be. To breathe, to feel, to rest, to begin again. As you drift now, perhaps already deep in sleep, perhaps hovering at its edge, know this: you are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where you are, on your own path, in your own season, under your own sky. The night does not ask you to be anywhere else. It only asks you to let yourself be held for a while. The earth is turning. Somewhere, dawn is already touching the horizon. It will come to you in its time. When it does, it will not ask, "How perfectly did you sleep?" It will simply offer light. When that light reaches you, you will have another chance to practice what you have touched tonight. Another chance to breathe like a beginner, to see like a beginner, to listen like a beginner, to live like a beginner. And if you forget, that is all right. You can begin again in the next breath, and the next, and the next. For now, there is nothing to do. Let the night finish its work. Let your body do what bodies have always known how to do. Let your thoughts thin and scatter. Let your awareness fade and return and fade again. Whether you notice the moment you cross into sleep or slip over it without knowing, you are already in the arms of rest. You are already being carried. You are already, in the deepest sense, on your way home.